Perfect. And that's white over there as well?
Ours is white, yes.
Perfect.
Yes, ma'am.
Recording.
Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. If everybody would rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Tim Brown,
Here.
Brad Gooddecker,
Here.
Deborah Hendrickson,
Gone.
She gone.
Richard Hill,
Here.
Joe Saylor.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Did I move it? Chairs. Okay.
There we go.
Ms. Carmen, you do the invitation, or Mr. Slim, please.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Please give us guidance and direction to help us build a better community. Please help us to think clearly, and not of ourselves, but of those that can be helped around us. Keep the community safe and be with those in need. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, sir. Review and approval of the agenda. Looks like we had some changes. Minutes of 4:8 and 4:15. 4:15 was added, just for clarification.
I had no questions.
Any-
I'll make a motion to approve.
Well, hang on.
Okay.
Hang on. A review and our approval agenda, conflict of interest disclosure. Do we have?
We had a bunch
We
of
do.
them. We had a
They were
bunch of them.
listed under new business at the end of new business.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I thought we could do
Want to
that.
have that.
Okay. We'll just do it at the very end.
Okay.
My apologies. Minutes, 4:8, 4:15. Mr. Brown, sorry about
I
that.
want to do it now. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
You
We have a
approving
second?
both at the same time?
You can.
So it'll be 4:8 and 4:15 minutes. We have a second.
I wasn't here for 4:15, so I would want to do them separately so I can abstain.
Same for me as well.
Okay, so we'll go back to 4:8 minutes. April 8th.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Okay. Joe and Brad, and roll call on that.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Brad Gooddecker,
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson. Yes. Joe Saylor,
Yes.
Richard Hill,
Yes.
passed 5-0.
So the 4:15 minutes, did you have copies of those in the package? You did, okay. And Brad and Joe, you were both gone?
Yes.
Tim, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve them.
Can I second the motion, or
You can.
I'll second the
Yep.
motion for 4:15? Roll call, please.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Brad Gooddecker,
Yes. Nope, abstain.
Deborah Hendrickson,
Yes.
Joe Saylor,
Abstain?
Richard Hill,
Yes.
passed 3-0 to 2 abstained.
Okay. Voucher packets, 513. Any questions, concern with voucher packets?
There is one thing I wanted to explain on the water voucher packet. There is 2 checks going out to Mr. Singh. He moved in, paid his rental deposit, moved out, then moved into another house, paid his rental deposit, and then he's moved out of the town now. So he had 2 for $150.
It's nice to see no negatives. Thank you. Any questions, concerns, Tim?
No, sir.
Here,
Anything?
I'll do so.
I'll second.
So Brad and Joe, roll call please.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Brad Joe Decker,
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson,
Yes.
Joe Saylor,
Yes.
Richard Hill,
Yes.
passed 5-0.
Should have just made signs. Suggest no.
Financial report. Is it Melissa or Carmen? Both?
Me.
Carmen? Melissa?
I'm not sure how, you want me to do the reading of everything. For the batch packet, you do have the breakdown. Do you want me to read them to you, or nothing was out of ordinary this time for all of the general sewer and water?
I think it might be good since we don't have it on the screen and we have an audience, maybe just the very top line that
Okay.
we're talking for each fund, if you don't mind.
Not a problem. So, the balance for the general fund is $589,625.75. We dispersed $203,329.79. The sewer operating balance, the fund balance is $1,268,312.54. We've dispersed this month, $104,239.47. And we revenued in $170,407.35. I forgot to do that on the revenue for the general, which we revenued in $86,592.31. Sewer improvement, we have $981,971.20. The revenue we brought in was $73,824. We dispersed out $98,749.94. The water operating balance, the balance is $700,389.89. We revenued in $142,795.96. And we dispersed out $62,897.13. Water improvement, we have $620,493.42. We revenued in $48,000. We dispersed out $41,040 even. And then the interest that was earned on all the bank accounts was $25,537.84.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Melissa? Nope. Special guest tonight is pathway presentation by Sam Arnaz. Mr. Arnaz, are you here?
It's me. Actually, our high school ag department is going to be presenting this.
Oh, okay.
We've got two teachers here. I'll let them introduce themselves.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, everybody. My name is Hannah Knight. I'm one of the agriculture teachers and FFA advisors at the high school, and I teach the animal science pathway. My name is Katie Ott. I am the other agriculture teacher at Whiteland High School. I teach the principles of agriculture classes, the middle school classes, and the plant science pathway. So most of this is
How do you spell your last name?
OTT. So we're here this evening to talk to you about some potential enhancements to our animal science program. So a little background information, our animal science program is one of our biggest programs that we have in the ag department. This year we have 102 students in animal science and we have 35 students in advanced animal science, and I'll let Katie kind of talk about her principles class.
Yeah, so the principles of agriculture classes, we kind of have a variance in student enrollment, but typically it's around 90 to 120 students. And they'll be utilizing this as well.
So all of our courses are dual credit courses with Ivy Tech, so that allows students to earn college credit. So the state and Ivy Tech standards require students to learn and practice animal husbandry and basic veterinary care skills. So right now in our classroom, we have some rabbits that we use for that portion, but that's really kind of only showing students one side of the industry. We'd like to get them more experience in the livestock industry so they can get more well-rounded experience. So that's what we're here to talk about today. So our vision is a goat farm that's maintained and managed by the Ag program and the Animal Science Pathway to create opportunities for students to gain husbandry experience as well as some business management skills in agriculture. So for a little perspective, all the other agriculture programs in the county have livestock on their school grounds. So Franklin Community High School, they have some animals kind of right outside their classroom. They have calves, they have chickens, occasionally have a sheep and a goat. Indian Creek has their Creek Cattle Company that they've been very successful with. So we kind of would like to kind of match those programs so we can stay competitive with our students as well. So we would like to specialize in goats. You may be thinking, why goats? So the size of goats is a little bit better equipped for the safety of students. So we, unlike some of the other programs in the county, have students that haven't been around livestock. We have a more urbanized program. So we feel like goats are more of a safer option for our students. Also, the space requirements for goats are going to be more minimal and more manageable for the area that we're looking at. We're going to have minimal damage to the landscape and the earth, as opposed to a larger animal like a cow or swine. Goats are very low to no odor livestock option. As long as you don't have a intact male, which we don't plan on having, you're not going to have any smell associated with goats. We get a faster turnaround time with goats, so we can raise multiple cycles of animals throughout one school year. And it's unique, so we would be the only school in the area to have a goat farm. The only other one that I actually know of in Indiana is Owen Valley High School down south. So it would be something unique for the community, we feel like, as well. So some opportunities for students with the goats is currently the U.S. does not produce enough goat meat to satisfy the demand that it has for goat meat. So that's a really marketable product. So goat meat is going, I actually looked this morning, for about $3.25 a pound at market, whereas beef and pork is more in the $2 to $3 range. So we're getting a high price for that meat right now. Students will learn the entire farm to table process, and that meat that we produce could be served in our school cafeteria or sold via a student marketplace, which is comparable to kind of what the other schools in the area are doing with their production. So for our herd, we're looking at raising about 5 to 8 meat goat wethers each semester. So like I said, goats have a really fast turnaround time, so we can raise them within 6 months or so, up to the 80, 90 pound market weight. We can send them to market at the end of each semester and start over at the next semester. So students would be responsible for daily care, deworming, health vaccinations, hoof trimming, and marketing of that final meat product. And as far as the location, I can kind of let Sam talk about the exact location when we're finished, but we're looking for those animals to be housed on school grounds for several reasons. The first being time restrictions. So the typical class length right now at WCHS is about 46 minutes. So housing animals in an off-campus location is going to take significant time busing students there, and it's going to take away from a lot of instructional time every day. Second, animal safety. So for this to be successful, those animals are going to need to be heavily monitored. So being on school grounds is going to allow us to do that. An off-campus location is going to make that more difficult. Transportation concerns. So how do we transport those students there and back every day to get to the farm? If a student's tardy and they get left behind, they miss out that whole class period of instructional time. So that would be a challenge. And finally, what we feel like is kind of the most important is emergency situations. So when we're off campus with students, frequently that leaves us really vulnerable to not having administrators present, school resource officers, nurses, things like that in case of an emergency.
I'd like to add something to this. We do have not a significant population, but there definitely are students that end up in our classes that do have some health concerns. So that would be a significant reason for us to have this on campus. That's the only thing I have to add to this. I click it like that. There we go.
So that's kind of the base of our presentation. If you guys have any questions for us, we'd love to answer those or give you any more information you're looking for.
I've been to both sites. I've been to Franklin and I've been out there. Where you're wanting to put this is right in the middle of a subdivision, which is my subdivision and the people that live around me. And the thing about it, it's no different than my son once got an acre across the street from you guys. and he can't have goats, he can't have cows, he can't have chickens. Both my kids were in AFFA. I support them 110%. But this is the location, it's right in the middle of our subdivision. We got houses will back this property, and that's my concern, is neighbors calling in. What it does, it creates more work for the town. People gonna call and complain, people gonna have, then our guys gotta go out there and take care of it. When we got the bus garage over there, got the ground, we got Clark Pleasant out there, got ground, which is country living. I understand the point of busing people. I get that. But this is just a touchy one for my neighbors because it's all around the neighborhoods now, what is being planned. And a lot of them are very upset. And I'm getting a lot of concerns if this does come to a vote or something like this.
So how many people? You said a lot. So like, have you
I think,
had anybody message me or reach out?
well, you don't live by it.
Well, I know.
Yeah, and that's the whole point. I'd say 23 people has messaged me, and that's just around in the little area. But not everyone knows about this. But the moment it comes out, I'm sure it's going to be more. We wouldn't like this in Brenham Ridge. We wouldn't like this in your neighborhood, Park Forest. We wouldn't like that around that. We don't want, just because it's an older subdivision, doesn't mean it should be treated like an older subdivision. We got people there to take care of their houses, mow their grass. What's saying that if we allow something like this, that someone else can't come in? Well, I got a couple acres. Why can't I put goats and stuff like that there?
Where exactly is the proposed?
It's going along the ditch line right there.
The proposed area would be, there's a building currently on site on the northwest corner of the property where there's Indian American Water, I think once housed, water house there.
It's behind Dave Hawkins' house, if that helps you guys
Was an
out.
area of that building, so it's a green pole barn building that would be converted into use and then utilize that ground out there.
Do you have Beacon, Carmen?
She's, I was just, or Katie is bringing it up. I was just gonna pull up Google Maps so that we can see,
Right.
get a visual on what that looks like. If you don't mind, I understand those concerns, and I 100% can understand where someone would want to suggest, well, I've got a couple acres and I'd like to add something to my land as well. The difference for this project is this is an educational tool that we would be utilizing.
Okay, say they homeschool their kid. It's the same effect. They can pull things out. And they're wanting it right there, and that's where the subdivision is. See all back there? It breaks all them subdivisions back there.
So roughly where the cursor is?
Yes, so this building right here, from what I've been told in the history of the school, is that was a barn at some point. Is that?
There currently is
So, okay. So it's a storage facility currently, but.
And how many acres and how many goats are roughly are you talking about
At about
pasturing?
5, and I mean, goats don't need that much space at all. I mean, we could honestly house them in that barn without having to have outdoor.
6 to 8 a semester, so that's about 16, approximately 16 annually. So is that,
So they would be coming in one semester and then those would be gone and we get.
Going out getting new ones.
So only 5 to 8 at a time
okay.
per time, yes.
okay.
Okay.
And they wouldn't, because of the month and the breakdown of that, they wouldn't necessarily be there for the entirety of the year. The school is in session.
I would be interested in, I mean, looks to me like to the south, there's quite a bit of open, well, I guess there's a road there, isn't there?
Yeah, that's Center Street, or, yeah,
The trail.
trail.
Oh, that's the trail.
That's a trail right there, and then the road's out by there.
But so if you did need pasture, you could also go off to the east, it looks like.
Yes, we wouldn't need to go directly north to where those houses are. We could.
I'll definitely want to drive by it, and see what it looks like. I'm generally in favor of, that sort of stuff. But I also completely understand Mr. Brown's concerns there, and I'd want to put my own eyes on it and see kind of what the proximity of the houses is and whatnot.
And I'm a big favor of anything farm. I'm 100% for it. But it's just the location what concerns me. Say you want goats, then next time you want cattle. Then the next time they want hogs.
That's why we all.
But that's what it starts out as. And then someone say you move to a different school or you go to be a college professor and another person comes in and then they say, well, I'm more of a cattle person because I know you're a goat person. Okay, I got a call today. So, and I'm not against anything what's agriculture. It's just the location is not the best for what we're wanting to do. I mean, one, you're gonna have more flies because there's manure, stuff like that. That's just common sense. I've been around farm. We raise cattle. Cody raises cattle out in Morristown because he can't put them on his property and he don't have property, so he has to do it in Morristown. That's the thing. This just being so close really concerns me for my neighbors. And that's what it's about. It's about what the townspeople. And you might get it here and nobody comes in and grabs, so be it, But I just feel that it's an awkward spot for it. It's not that I'm against it, I'm just against it for here.
So I understand the concern about manure and flies, but that's what we would really be utilizing the kids for. So my plan would be like to have a dumpster there that gets empty, weekly, and the kids are out there daily getting rid of manure, so it's not sitting there and causing those smells and odors.
So it sits in a dumpster for a week versus on the ground for a week.
So much.
So same thing, but it's just not on the ground. It's more in a dumpster where it's sitting and the heat comes from it and stuff like that, makes it a stronger odor. Like I said, I'm for most of your stuff anywhere but here. I just feel personally for the people in Chadlow, I think it's a bad location.
I hear your concern. We're limited on where we can choose to put that as well. I mean, the high school is pretty landlocked, so we're addressing those needs and building out to accommodate the students and the wide variety of students that we have. This is about the only location that is left on our campus. I know it looks like there's a lot of green space there in this Google photo. However, with the improvements that we're making in the school, a lot of it's going to become asphalt and parking lots and other athletic facilities. So this is kind of the only spot that we have to make it a really a safe location for our students, to make sure that, their safety is my number one priority, and making sure that they're not in a situation that would cause harm to them in any way, shape, or form. So this is one of the only locations that we could. This is the one that was proposed to us by.
It's the only one you don't have to bus them to. There's other options, but they're busing them to the other grounds.
Correct.
This is the only option that you have that you don't have to bus students.
Correct.
You do have other options, just you have to bus them.
That is correct, and I
Okay.
did not say that there were not other options. I just said that would remove them from administrators and nurses and.
Well, I want everybody to know everything because this is gonna fall on my shoulders in that subdivision because that's where I live. And that's where people come and talk to me because I'm always out and my door's always open. I'm an open book. Everybody just comes up, talks, and that's just how it is. And I'm gonna have to answer to a lot of questions. And I just want the whole thing thrown out in the open. That way everybody knows there's no hidden secrets is my big thing. Like I said, I'm for FFA 110%. It's just not in this location. I can't stress that enough.
Thanks, Tim. I just have a couple questions. So, the C9 program up there towards Greenwood, do they not have a program like this that you're trying to implement here locally? Okay. Is that a possibility to partner with C9 since?
They have no interest. C9 does not have any interest.
C9 does not have any interest?
No, they're more body, mechanical skills and stuff like that. C9 is. And Clark Pleasant's out there is really nice out there.
So what about an option of eliminating the concern with residents and so forth? I know Clark, when you go out east, it's very, very rural farmland, things like that. And I know Clark Elementary is now a school and there's a baseball, softball style. Is that not an option that eliminates a lot of headaches and concerns?
It's the time restriction. So by the time we got kids to Clark, they would be spending maybe 5-10 minutes there before we'd have to turn around and come back. So what kind of instructional time are they getting?
Well, could you possibly get creative on your timing and length of classroom if you have 100 students who are involved in that? Kind of think outside and do something with timing if you had to potentially bus or go in a different direction. could you lengthen the instructional time to, instead of 45 minutes to,
That's not in
And-
our jurisdiction
No.
to make those decisions.
State generally
We're just presenting
allows you to do
information.
that.
They've got other classes they gotta get to
Yeah.
for the rest of the day.
well, I mean, and don't get me wrong, my kids are all grown and I haven't been in high school for years, but, you know, the C9 concept seems like that's a proven concept with the transportation and the dedication of, you know, AM and the PM with the classes and stuff like that. It's almost very similar to kind of what you're trying to implement in maybe in a lower scale, but something like that. Is that true or not true?
I think that may be true, but they have multiple classes that they take there that check off multiple boxes for them. When they're taking our courses, they are only in our class for one class period a day, so that 46-minute time frame on a typical day.
Right, so just to clarify that, working in high school, to what Katie and Hannah are saying, so in their animal science class, that's 1 credit that they're receiving versus C9 receiving 3 credits. So it's hard to mimic that programming because the credits are not equal.
They spend the rest, they either do it in the morning and do up to 11 and then they drive back to the school. And then the other one comes in and they usually stay there until after school and then go from there. I see.
I mean, I'd have to piggyback on what Joe said. I mean, I know that location just from an individual that is a friend of mine. I don't know, I haven't walked the grounds to get a full, you know, I'd have to walk it and look at it to really take it in stride. So within, I guess in that, so are you asking to do this? Or are you just presenting an idea? I mean, what's your objective in the next couple, 3 weeks?
So we're presenting, so we know there's obviously an ordinance with that kind of, you know, animal within town. So we're just presenting it to maybe apply for a variance for that. We know even at the, as you mentioned, with our operations building, that's still within town limits. We still have the same limitations regardless if it's a cornfield sitting out there or not. So it's more or less just looking to try to get a variance on the town ordinance to maybe look at implementing this, take the next steps to try to implement this program.
So is that something timing wise for the beginning of school year 2026? Or are you looking for something faster than that? Because, I mean, we're right, May, you're getting ready to get out of school in 2 weeks. Are you looking like August?
We're looking for when we start back school in July, that we have a plan, we have approval for this program. This is an extension of the pathway. This is part of the graduation pathway with the state of Indiana. And we do a good job with exposing our kids with the concentrator, with the introduction classes that you have heard. But the problem that a lot of schools have is the experience, which is the capstone. This is the biggest piece that are missing. We only can give so much book knowledge, we can only watch so many films. But the ladies know that my push is to give our kids hands-on experience. The students have spoken. We take a survey of the students at Whiteland High School, and they have said that a lot of these kids want to go beyond just the classwork. Some of our kids want to go into the animal science to be veterinarians. Some of them want to go in the business side because they may come from a farming family and they want to expand it. So we're trying to give our students more of that experience so they can be prepared, because they feel like they're getting just boxed down and they really don't know. This also gives them an experience if they decide to go to Purdue and they go into those programs, that they already have the hands-on experience and the real-world experience, so they can come back to their community and expand on being the veterinarian of the animals on the farm, running the business, helping the community not lose that piece of farming. And I know the ladies, they're passionate about this, and if we have to consider another spot, we still need the approval and we want the support of the town to make this successful.
I got a couple questions on that. My daughter went to Blackhawk for agriculture. She come from Morristown, which her graduating class was 32 people. It's a very small school. They don't have a farm program on their school grounds either because it's small. But she did go farther with the farming community. She did go for, I don't know what it's called, I apologize, but it's something to do with marketing and stuff like that. So she did take it and went a little farther. Would this change that ground to agriculture, Carmen, or will it still stay commercial?
No, what Sam and I have discussed is it could be as simple as a variance, just to allow, and it could be you all, the BZA or whomever this would go to, or I think it would be Plan Commission
Well, if it's a variance,
of the zoning.
if it's a use variance,
Yeah.
which it sounds like it would be, that would go to the BZA.
So within that, they could make it specific for educational purposes. So let's say down the road that something changes, and they can be as specific as only goats.
Correct.
Whatever that is. So my only, I'll say it as a concern, but as you guys prepare with whatever the next steps are, is this area floods. And it is within, you need to be mindful of the legal drain that comes through there. And I know that this water has flooded all the way up to the backyards of the homes on Christina. So just be mindful of that as you kind of prepare your next steps, is what happens when these animals are experienced. And, you know, goats aren't very tall. I mean, I don't know how high those waters have gotten, but the waters have been able to get up to the backyards right here. So just keep that in mind.
And it does flood all the way across because Cody's areas flood. I mean, we've seen it all the way up to the top of the bridge. And what my concerns are, the school owns a bus garage. There's ground over there, and that's pretty close. Has anybody thought about that option? Because they do have extra ground there that they're not using, and that would cut your bus time down.
And that was again, the operations or the
Right.
bus barn that you're.
Right, that would cut travel time down.
Town,
Right, and I have no problem with it out there. I have no problem with it out there at all. I think that's a perfect location. We already got a speed track out there. We already got a guy who has horses. We already got dump trucks over there, semis and stuff like that. That's a little different than in someone's backyard. So to me, I like that, and I'll support it 100% if it's in another location. And you got my word on that, because I think it's a great program. I've seen what they've done down south, and it's really a neat program. And I think it's a good education thing for the kids. It's just, I think we need to look at alternative grounds. Now that, I'm just one, so that's just my opinion.
I mean, and ma'am, I didn't get your name. I apologize, but
I'm sorry, I'm Dr. Shipp, the Assistant Superintendent.
okay, nice to meet you. Thank you for coming. If it seems to me, if you may have a problem with the timing, if school starts in July and we're May 15th right now, potentially BZA, notice, things like that, you're probably gonna miss that start of school window.
I think she just meant to get a plan in place, or this is like an initial
Have it built.
presentation. We're not trying to have it built, we're not planning on having it.
As I not want it right now, they just want to make sure they don't waste their time and do all
I
this.
thought you
We're just
wanted
trying to get our
goats
ducks
like
in
in
a row and get a
July.
plan started. No,
Okay,
we
my
won't.
apologies.
No, that's fine, I just wanted to
I thought that was
clarify
pretty quick, pretty
Yeah.
aggressive, but.
Yes.
Yeah, I think they're just wanting to get our feel on what we think about it.
Oh, okay.
I think if we could have maybe two options would really be nice. I mean, like I say, I'm only one person.
I mean, I'm open to the idea. I think it's important to expand the horizons of young minds and so forth. But I also think you have to take in consideration of the proposal where you're at. We need to have possibly a couple different options and avenues just in case. It's always good to have something in your back pocket. I mean, I'm open. I can't make a decision for or against this. I'm just open for continued dialogue and due diligence and checking things out. And again, I'm just one person, so.
I appreciate you guys coming in. I really do. I think it's a great idea. I really do.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
As a point of clarification, if this is going to be a BZA matter, it would not come back to you.
No,
Just so you
not at
know.
all.
So if they do petition for a variance, it would go before that board, and that would be the final decision.
And council has no say on it. So see, good luck there. Because I'm not there, so but yeah, it don't come back to us if they go for it, it's whatever BZA decides.
And I mean, I know some of the people in the BZA, you're probably gonna have still a stumbling block with the concern of butting up and adjacent to the backyard concept. It may be good, like I said, to have that option on the table just in case when you do go the next steps to the BZA.
Especially when you start putting door hangers out.
I'm familiar with that area, but I want to go like walk it just so I have a better understanding. I'm like, what is that, like 100 yards from their back property line maybe or something like that?
It's
an open field.
Yeah, it's an open
I just don't
field.
know where the property stops and
I'd say
starts.
roughly you're in some areas, like from the road, you're probably 300. From the back of them houses, I think you're roughly to that barn. I want to think 100, maybe 150. Because we walk the path a lot, me and my wife. And it does flood really bad because the ducks take over the path once it gets heavily landed really well. If either one of you'd like to walk it with me, I'd be more than happy to walk it with you and just give you some of my, but like I said, it's gonna be out of our hands.
Yeah.
Carmen, I just,
200 feet
Right.
is what Google Maps says with my quick drag and drop, so that may not be 100% accurate, but.
I did it on Beacon and it's about 134 feet
Okay.
from the north corner of that building to the Beacon property line.
That's kind of what I was thinking, 150, and I'm just guessing off the top of my head, so.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We appreciate
Thank you
it.
for the presentation.
You ladies have a good evening. Thank you guys in the audience.
Okay. Old business. Ordinance 2025-06, no parking provisions is next on the agenda.
I have some concerns, if it's all right. You know, I went to a meeting the other day over the apartments and everything and the BZA and all that. And you know, the one thing I heard the most about the audience, which was the townspeople, that no one takes their decision or anything in consideration. That's what we always hear when we sit up here. My thoughts on this, and this is just my thoughts, is let's send out something. Let the townspeople speak on this, whether they want it or not. I mean, because they're the ones who's complaining, because I'm sure you got the email I got about the lady, what said she'd like to keep it. I got one from some lady. She instant messaged me. This is another lady. She instant me on Facebook and said, hey, I don't want to have a dog in a fight, but I'd like this. But I'm thinking, we sit up here and we try to do our best to what's best for the town and best for everybody who works here. And my thoughts is sending something out to the people. Let's see what they think about it. For once, let's say it costs $800 and we get 300 letters back. So that says people's listening, and it shows the community that we're willing to work with them. Because I think everybody right now thinks all we do is work against them, is the feeling I'm getting, especially after the apartments. The town got beat up pretty hard.
Are you talking about the agriculture classroom, or are you talking about the parking?
I'm talking parking.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I'm talking.
The agriculture classroom, I'd be interested to know, like, everybody that lives along Christina, that there's, I don't know, what, maybe 10, 12 houses that are relatively,
Oh, I'm sure they'll all come in and talk to us.
or something, and then maybe half of them be like, yeah, it won't bother me. I don't think that's gonna be a problem.
Right, and I'm fine with that, and I'm fine with whatever BZA decides. I'm talking about the parking ordinance. The parking ordinance, I think if we got their concerns and their comments, maybe that's something we need to take into consideration in showing everybody that we are willing to listen to concerns and comments, because there's some people who can't come here because they're single parents or they're making dinner, stuff like that. That's just my take on it.
On the broad strokes, I absolutely agree with you, Tim. The more engaged the townspeople are in their local government, the better. I'm 100% for it, and I wish that we had more engagement.
I do too.
This particular one, though, I think in the fine specifics, I disagree with you because it was on the front page of the paper and it was all over Town of Whiteland Concerned Citizens, and it was all over the Daily Journal's paper. And so everybody is on notice that we're considering this tonight because it was in the paper on the front page that we're considering this tonight. And my email address and everybody's is public on the page and whatnot. And anybody can come to this public meeting. In fact, I'd be completely in favor of opening a public hearing at this meeting, is that anybody who would like to speak on the matter before we consider it can speak on the matter. But this isn't one where people don't know what we're doing tonight. This is,
I agree with you, sir.
So
I thought about that.
I guess I think that as far as issues that people have notice on, I think they have notice.
Yeah, but not everybody's on Facebook, not everybody's on social media, not everybody, and I get that, and I understand. But when the paper ran with it, I think it got stretched a little bit. I think things went a little far. I think that we need to show people that we're willing to work with people and we're willing to listen to people. But like I said, that's my thought. And I understand that they could have came here tonight because they knew we were coming. I wish this place was packed. I really do. I'm so tired of people saying, we just need better people to run and, change the board. Well, you know what? We're doing the best we can up here. We really are.
That's just the nature.
But that's the nature of the.
They like to complain on Facebook, but they don't like to come spend the time at the meeting, and I understand.
Yeah.
This is boring.
Oh, I agree.
Boring. But if you care about the issue, then you can at least send an email.
Yeah, you make time.
So I do think we should take action of whatever nature tonight. I would ask that, I do want to make a motion to add an amendment to it. That would be to add a provision that no vehicle may remain parked in the same location without being moved for more than 36 hours. A constituent raised that concern of what if somebody just parks in front of my house and they don't move their car. And so I would make a motion to amend to add provision that no vehicle parked on a public road may be left there for more than 36 hours without being moved.
I'd like to make a comment before you request that. So, I have an issue with this of redlining all the subdivisions in the 2 to 5. That's where the problem relies. Eliminating that is not solving the issue or addressing the concern. It's a little concerning that we add all these streets, which are main thoroughfares, north, south, east, and west. But the problem relies in the subdivisions. So, personally, I think you ought to leave the 2 to 5, and it'd be at the police chief's discretion whether he addresses situations or not, and leave it at that. From Carmen's standpoint and Mr. Slim's standpoint, I know we had issues at wintertime when we had 7-8 inches of snow of cars parked in the subdivisions where potentially it could be a hazard, potentially it could be a damage claim with the snow plow, because we did have 2 or 3 inexperienced snow plow people, my understanding. I just have a concern with that. So I personally think we ought to leave it alone. Leave the 2 to 5 in the subdivisions, leave it alone, make it a discretion of the police chief. And if he has time to deal with that, he has time. If he doesn't, he doesn't. But we can't add all these other roads and take all the subdivision roads out, because we're contradicting ourselves. And nobody's going to park on, Tracy Road and Graham Road and Center Street, some of the main roads, overnight, because there are main thoroughfares throughout the town. So that's my comment.
The issue with snowplows, that's specifically addressed in the next section of the code. It says no vehicle shall be parked on a town street or right of way when there is snow or ice accumulation in such a quantity which necessitates street plowing. So you can't park on the street if there's any accumulation of snow, period, at all. During the day, during the night.
But they did.
Well, no, but when we're talking about that you want to prohibit something that's already prohibited. You can't park during the day if it's snow. It's already illegal in our code. And I'm not proposing that we do anything with that. The real issue that I made this motion or asked that this be drafted, deals specifically with the police chief and the issues and hassles and problems that it has caused him, has caused his department, and that he has made it quite clear that from where he sits, it interferes with his ability to effectively police the town. There's no functional difference between parking at 2 to 5 and parking at 1 or at 6. There's no functional difference. It's just kind of to.
It's a deterrent.
It's a deterrent to what?
It's a deterrent not to park on the street.
Well, yeah, but it's a nonsensical deterrent. And why can you not park on the street? If the streets are wide enough and you're having to move every 36 hours, why can't you park on the street?
I don't know. I wasn't here in 2020 or 2005 when they adopted it, so I can't answer that question.
Well, I think that it had to do with the street sweeper that the town hasn't owned in like 15 or 20 years. At least that was the case in Franklin. So that they had the exact same ordinance, but it was related to a street sweeper they had gotten rid of 10 or 15 years before. So the purpose of the ordinance had completely disappeared and it was just on the books. I think ours is the same reason, but I'm not absolutely certain of that because I didn't live here at that point.
If I may, I don't know that it serves a whole lot of purpose. I mean, I think generally speaking, removing this absolute requirement, and then putting in adopting some of the language like, cars aren't to be there longer than 36 hours. The spirit of that is we're not going to have a hoarder that has 15 cars parked on a road, which I don't think anybody wants, any neighbors want anywhere in town. And that kind of solves that particular issue. Other than that, I mean, I don't think it's a big deal. This would address and solve the problem of, hey, I've actually had too much to drink. I came to a friend's house. I'm going to leave my car here and take an Uber home. There's no issue or concern. The police departments kind of let us know, hey, we'd like to not really enforce this issue so much, like better community policing. I mean, I don't foresee it being a huge deal either way. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't think much is going to change. I don't think this is a huge problem for the town. And so, I mean, it could stay or go. I'm seeing the red line thing that's we'll just kind of get rid of that. We have, some caveats here. We don't want, we don't need to, enforce it. Writing lots of tickets. I personally am very pleased that we don't live in a municipality where we're trying to generate our budget from speeding tickets or things like this. I don't like those. Like if you drive on a vacation or something and everything's set up for speed traps to extort money from people. I mean, that's not the spirit. We're trying to keep people safe. People enjoy each other's company and things like that. And so, I think it seems pretty reasonable. And then it's just, one less, absolute requirement. That doesn't sound too bad to me, I guess.
I think that the 36 hour would resolve most of anybody who likes the 2 to 5's issues. I mean, the 2 to 5 basically kind of just function to make you move your car every day, or at least have to move it every night. This would functionally do the same thing. You wouldn't be able to have it there more than one night. It just makes it, I guess, a lot less arbitrary in my opinion. So I've currently made a motion to amend the draft to include a prohibition on a vehicle being left parked for more than 36 hours without being moved.
And then written as is otherwise.
Oh, this was just to amend it.
Or not any of this, just the original?
Yeah, this would just be to add that to the.
It's not to approve them and.
Not to approve it,
Correct.
to add that.
Then I'll second that for you.
Okay.
And so I think, if I understand you correctly, Joe, that would replace the section struck out in red, I think. Is that right?
Yes, no vehicle may remain parked on a public road or right of way for more than 36 hours without being moved.
Ask Debbie if she has any concerns.
Debbie, did you hear all that? You awake?
She's awake.
You might be muted, Debbie. You might be muted.
That sounds like me.
Who's going to monitor the 36 hours was what she commented.
Well, the police, or then if a neighbor complains, police come out.
The neighbor concerns me because if you got a nasty neighbor or Karen, what's not happy with you, she could say, well, that car's been there 36 hours. And that would be the only concern of a neighbor, saying it's there when it really wasn't.
I'm not saying you write the ticket on that basis.
Okay, you just come out and talk to
Come out
them.
and just talk to whoever
That makes a little more sense.
would be my thought.
It would be logged if we did come out and speak to them on it, then you got 36 hours and moved.
So you give them 36 hours by the time you log it. So that means if the car's there for, roughly 3 hours and the person calls in and says, hey, this car's been here, we want to, and then you come out and log it and you tell them they got 36 hours to move it.
We get that currently on even the 2 to 5, been there for 30 minutes or something in that time frame.
Carmen, I know you sent an email. What are your concerns about this?
Oh, the only thing I put here was adding the roads that we put in the ordinance, and basically those are main thoroughfares. My main concern with that is, you mentioned, nobody parks on Tracy or Graham, or they do, because it doesn't specify what type of vehicle, so we do get vehicles that park on the interchange, on the on-ramps and off-ramps. So that was where adding a lot of like industrial park, I wouldn't want to create an opportunity for people to choose to park there, whether it's overnight. I don't think we want semis on those types of roads, and I'm picking on that type of vehicle. The other thing was, now as we add newly dedicated roads, we have to come back and revise the ordinance unless we put language in there. But how do we then dictate what we think would be a road we don't want parking on?
Like a red road.
Something like that. So a perfect example is the Gateway, the patch development. None of those roads have been dedicated or accepted. So that would be something that, one more thing we'll have to remember to do, and make a change to the ordinance to add additional roads. A lot of our roads, even on the truck parking, truck routes, that's an ordinance we haven't touched in a long time that needs updated. It's just one of those, like, we have to remember to then come back and update some of these ordinances. So those were my main things. As far as, depending on which way this went, I think if we put the 36 hours in there, we'll just take down the signs from 2 to 5. I don't think it would be silly. We wouldn't need to put any additional signage up, but that was going to be a question, is if we need to notify people of what this is, we would, we'd have to figure out a way to pay for additional signage. But at this point, if it's something where you put in there, the 36 hours, we're not gonna put signage up probably, that would be a slim decision anyway. The only thing that we might need to look at is if we do put absolutely no parking on streets, if we want to put signage up. But again, if it's in an ordinance, we don't technically have to put signage up. It can be enforced, and within that. So those would be, I guess, a little bit, no, I'm just saying, like, I just wanted to make sure that the roads where we absolutely do not want vehicles parked, that we added those in, so. And then, one more thing, and I put on there, because of the perfect example of the BZA case that came before that group last week, is we have quite a few narrow roads. Now, ideally they are alleys, but we have paved them and we put street names on them. So I did put in there any road that is a lot width of 24 feet or less. Because there's a couple of quirky roads. Parkway is a perfect example. We call it an eyebrow, where it kind of is like a mini cul-de-sac. It's only like 18 feet wide, so if you allow somebody to park there and then another vehicle needs to get through, it could just make it difficult. People don't currently park there overnight, but you know, just trying to address anything less than 24 feet in width, because if people end up parking on both sides, it could be of concern.
No, and I absolutely supported the 24-foot width caveat. And that should be the case all day, not just 2 to 5, which is, I think, how this would.
We have an ordinance that says we have to maintain 12 feet of the road at all times.
Maintain what's that? I'm sorry?
Maintain 12 foot wide at all times. If you're crowding that road, it's an automatic ticket. So our ordinance states from 12 foot, you can't, like you can park on this side if you have to, but if you're blocking more than 12, if you're encroaching 11 feet and they only got 11 foot width to get a car through, that's a ticket in our area. And that's the thing. Something we need to consider too is for fire trucks, to get these fire trucks down there. And that's kind of why ours is like that, for we can get an ambulance or something down there. And Chris usually helps me with that in Barnersville. I'll call Chris and say, hey, could you come over and help me with that? Because the fire department's got a little more teeth in it than I do. And when the fireman comes up or the inspector says, hey, we need to move these cars, they kind of tend to move them a little bit better for me. And so that's how our ordinance reads.
And we might want to look at adding some into our commercial vehicle ordinance at some point in relation to that. I mean, as it sits right now, there's no limitation like that at all. And particularly during the most travel times of the day.
And that's what, during the day, like when I'll go out driving through neighborhoods and such, especially the new neighborhoods, we'll have contractors on both sides of the road in these subdivisions. And so then I'll call Billy, or we'll go out there. Sometimes we've had to call the non-emergency dispatch and ask them to come out and move if we seem to be having difficulties. But a lot of times, you know, like we've worked with Briar Creek was a perfect example, where we went out there and we're like, we cannot continue to have this. There was an emergency call, a heart attack, a cardiac arrest of one of the dump truck drivers. And it's like, I drive out there, I didn't drive out there that day, but I'm saying when, you know, you'll go out there and there's a van here, and you cannot get through. And so we've asked them from time to time, put signs up, parking only this side. And that's what Bargersville has in their subdivisions, is no parking this side.
But it don't always work.
Signage, but on the current subdivisions that are being constructed, we make the developer put those up.
Correct.
Because they're just like a yard sign.
And that's what we do too. We put it up, but I hate to say it, sometimes they're usually parked right in front of a no parking on this side. I mean, it's the best you can do is just do the best, and that's about it.
Well, Jay, you had a motion. You want to finish that?
Yeah, there's a motion and there's a second by Tim.
Yeah.
That's add the 36-hour limitation.
Before you proceed, I was trying to fine tune the drafting of that, and I have some proposed language here, if you want to hear it.
Yes.
Give me 1 second, I'm going to reread it here real quick. Okay. No vehicle may stay parked on a town street or right-of-way for more than 36 consecutive hours without being relocated off of the right-of-way or town street for at least 24 consecutive hours. I added that last clause because someone could move it 10 feet and say they moved it, and they can stay there another 36 hours. So that was just a thought.
Well, that's fine by me.
And someone will do it.
And, you know, I think that.
What did she say?
I think yes, if Slim had any concern.
We start allowing parking on the roads. One of my concerns is the added oil grease fluids from the cars that are leaking onto our pavement. This will deteriorate our newly paved roads quickly. It will add to what is already there and how is this going to be controlled or kept in check. One of my other concerns is the impact to the curbs and not the sidewalks, but the streets that don't have curbs. If they're parking on the edges of those roads, they could possibly snap the edges of the roads off on a hot day or even when it's cold. One of the things I was thinking about is you have someone that, they want, which kind of takes care of the 36-hour thing, but they have their project car and they want to park it in the road. How's that going to be kind of, controlled because they want to park in the driveway? They put that out in the road,
Like switching vehicles type concept?
Yeah. Are we gonna allow them to work on cars, trucks, RVs, trailers, that kind of thing in the road? Because when it's hot out, you put a car on jack stands or even a floor jack, it's going to sink into the pavement. And then, if they're working on it out there and they're spilling oil and the fluids and all that, well, we're deteriorating our new pavement. So, we spent like $6 million getting to where we're at today with our roads. That kind of concerns me.
You currently can park on all the roads. Would it assuage some of your concerns if we were to add language as well that no inoperable vehicle or vehicle maintenance may be performed? No inoperable vehicle may be parked and no vehicle maintenance may be performed on any public road or right of way? Would that help at least with some of that?
Yeah, I'm just concerned of our roads being just tore to pieces, getting them to where we are now.
Why would it be different than where it currently is now when you can park there anytime you want, other than 2 to 5?
Because we're going to.
Is that a current issue now? Because
2 to 5.
2 to 5, they're not gonna be out working on their car.
I'm saying if we start allowing them to park on the road, you're gonna get more oil, grease, fluids.
They're not doing it now. What
From
they're doing.
vehicles.
Because people.
But they can park on the, we're not allowing them to do something they can't do now.
I think it's because people know the ordinance there, they see the signs, so they might not do it as much because there is signs there and they're concerned about, I think that's what he's saying.
Right.
But if we take all the signs down, I think he's saying it opens it up for a new avenue for people to put on it.
Parking, but
Yeah.
the working service, they're not doing it from 2 AM to 5 AM. And they would be doing it currently at 8 PM on a weekday or on a weekend or at 5 PM on a Saturday. They're currently doing it. So is it a current issue that's a problem now?
Not currently, but if the signs go away and more people learn, hey, it's
So the signs for 2
Totally
AM to
legal.
5 AM?
totally legal to park on the road, I think we're gonna see a lot more.
But don't the signs say it's totally legal to park on the road except from 2 to 5?
They can, but.
I mean, that's what the
most people
signs that
take
are
it
up
as,
now say.
Yeah, I'm just not gonna park on the road right now, but as soon as the signs go away, I think we're gonna see a lot more.
Okay. Appreciate your comments, Lynn. Appreciate it, sir. This is gonna be a long night, guys, so we need to move off center on this.
So there's a motion and a second. Are we gonna vote on the amendment?
We have to.
I believe so.
If we make a motion and it's been accepted, I'm 100% sure you gotta vote on it.
If I may, before we proceed, is doing all of this, okay, changing much at all? Because now we're got a bunch of different other requirements that may be even less easy to communicate and cause more potential problem. I think the general interest would be, hey, let's, support the police department, would be something. I don't think this is a major issue, in my opinion, but hey, we're gonna change it, so now we're gonna have to actually go around and take all these other signs up, maybe buy some new signs, put those out. And then, the effect of it is, we're just trying not to have people line the streets with a bunch of inoperable vehicles. I think that's kind of the main tenor of the entire thing. And so it's is going through all of this worth anything when in fact, we're not intentionally or, wanting to try to raise revenue for the town by issuing hundreds of citations or something. I mean, like, that's not what, I don't think I've heard anybody wants to do. I don't think the police department wants to enforce it, but we'll encourage things to, hey, why don't we go on, let's try not to have parked on the street too much. And so perhaps all this is a bunch of stuff we don't even need to do. I think it probably is, because now now it's like, hey, don't park on the street from 2 to 5. Well, in the future now, all of a sudden it's like, hey, you can actually park on the street, but just not for 36 hours, then you have to move it, and then you move it for 24, and then come back and then do some other thing. And so it's like 4 paragraphs. It's more difficult. If we're not going around like trying to just nail people, which I am much more for that. I don't think we should be. But we don't want people leaving it out there indefinitely and stuff. And the police department has my blessing to enforce or not as they see fit. I think, it seems great. So maybe this is an exercise we don't need to continue on and can move on. And then we can readdress this in 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 months if we think we need to as well. It's not like this is gone forever. I'd be like, hey, you know what? We decided to leave it in place and it's becoming an issue or something like that, then we can bring it back up.
Well, it did become an issue. It became an issue last month, and the police chief was very explicit in his request that this come off the books because it was being used to micromanage his department, and it was being.
Okay.
Hey, I'm talking.
Do not go there tonight.
You may be the president, but you do not get to take the floor away from me.
Okay, we're not going down that path. We're not rehashing all that. Your point's well taken. Just settle down. Let's concentrate on what Mr. Godecker said.
I'm responding to what Mr. Godecker said.
You don't have to bring up stuff that was discussed last month. Please don't do it anymore.
Mr.
Okay.
Hill,
Mr.
you do
Sale.
not control me when I hold the floor. I am speaking. You are not.
I'm asking you politely not to rehash what happened last month.
And I
Can we
have
just move off center and move
interrupting
forward?
me and telling me to stop is not anything polite. It's a violation of the procedures of this body. It's a violation of the rules of this body. And it's something you have no authority to do. I get to speak. I was elected to sit here and speak.
And so was I.
And it's my turn to speak.
I just asked to be respectful, okay, and not hash what we hashed out last month, okay? Is that too much to ask? Let's move forward
You
on
don't
center.
have any authority to interrupt me or ask me any of that.
Okay, you're
I get
out of
to
line.
speak.
You're
I get
out of
to.
line.
I get to speak, sir.
You're unprofessional. Let's move on, okay? Let's move on. Can we do that? Agree to disagree, and let's move forward.
I get to finish speaking.
He would like to finish. I think we owe it to each every one of us sitting up here. As long as tempers stay at a maintain and everybody lets everybody speak and keep it calm. That's all I ask, because this is out for everybody to see. So let's just be calm about it. Let him speak. Richard, I understand his passion of it. I understand your passion of it. But let's just let you speak and then we'll go from there, sir.
I'm asking that we take action on it because the ordinance that I'm asking is to be repealed was the subject of our meeting last time and of what happened with the police department that caused them to request that this be repealed. That's why I'm doing it. Hard stop.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The motion on the floor states that we need to vote, correct? Since there's been a motion, do we need to vote on that?
It needs to be voted.
And then David, or then someone can make a motion to either accept it or not accept it, and then we can roll on to another business. But we just need to get over one at a time and move along.
And as a reminder, the motion is simply to amend the proposed ordinance.
Only amend it, only. It's not to accept it. It's just to amend it. You can amend all you want because that's what everybody likes to do. We like to put our input in it and do what's best for the townspeople. So let's get past this one Then someone can make a motion to either accept it or not accept it, and then we'll move on to new business. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay, can we, I guess, Richard, you're the president, you need to tell them that motion, not me.
Take a vote,
Sorry.
please, on the amendment that's on the motion.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Brad Gooddicker,
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson,
I'm sorry, who seconded the motion?
I second it. It is only to add to this, not to approve it, just to add to it. He wanted to add a comment that he wanted put in there, and that's all it's for.
The comment of the 36 hours.
Yes. Correct.
Okay. Yes.
Joe Saylor,
Yes.
Richard Hill.
No.
I said yes.
You got two.
She got twice.
4-1.
I will move to approve as amended. What's the ordinance number, if someone has it up? Sorry, the internet keeps glitching on me.
Oh, 22.
506.
I will move to approve as amended 220506.
Let me see if Debbie heard that, Carmen.
Deb, did you hear the motion is to approve as amended?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I'm willing to revisit later, but I'm not gonna, I don't want to proceed right now. I think that this is just additional language and is gonna become more difficult to communicate and problematic. So, I'm gonna stay on this one.
If there's not a second, then the motion doesn't go to the floor, which is fine.
We all win some, we all lose some.
That's just fine.
So we have no second?
Nope.
I would ask it more affirmatively, do we have a second?
Oh, I'm sorry. Do we have a second? I guess we don't have a second.
You can declare the motion died for lack of a second.
So declare the motion died of lack of a second? Okay, so next thing, item fire engine bond and fire department updates.
Just practicalities. I think staff could use some direction as to whether or not you want this brought back at the next council meeting on the agenda for the next council meeting. It could be tabled indefinitely until you decide to bring it back, or you can tell us to put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
I think that's Brad wanted it just to, just rethink about it much later.
I have no issue with it just being tabled indefinitely. If it becomes an issue, I will ask to have it come back on the.
I agree.
I mean, I'd rather
Back
not
on the
next
agenda.
month. I'm not here, so table it indefinitely. If it comes an issue, then we'll bring it back up and discuss it, I guess.
Debbie, do you have any, well, I want to ask Debbie if she has any comments?
Debbie, did you hear that? Do you have any comments on that?
No, no comment.
Well, then we'll table it indefinitely and tell us to bring it back.
Mr. Funkhauser, I guess you're next.
I gotta find.
For the record, Eric Funkhauser, Fire Chief of Whiteland Fire Department. So why I'm here tonight, I'll bring up Mr. Adam Stone to come up here with me because he's been working with me a lot over the last couple of weeks on financials and everything. So first of all, I want to say thank you for the engine purchase last month, and sorry that I couldn't be here. So we've had a development since the last meeting. The ladder has gone out of service completely. So repairs to the ladder are going to cost $90,000 to repair it. So have a crane come in, take the ladder off, replace the bushings, and then motor works around, that's $70,000. And then the motor works around $20,000. It has to go to a Detroit diesel shop to be worked on. It's a 23-year-old ladder truck, so we bought it for $75,000. So my recommendation is that you don't put $90,000 into it, since we've already put $25,000 into it. So we did some research with Adam and then ran some numbers and everything on bond options that are out there. So yeah, sorry.
You're fine. You want me to run through those now?
Yeah, you don't
Okay,
mind.
great, yeah. I believe everyone had an updated copy printout of the options. I'll happily talk through those. And the couple different things here, so the last council meeting that I was at, there was directed to move forward with looking at financing options related to the Spencer engine. Since that time, conversations with the town, fire chief, et cetera, this concept of the ladder has been presented as well. So the memo that you have before you tonight just outlines sort of everything that we've heard, and then a walkthrough of a variety of different options. Dennis Austin with those is here tonight as well. The bond documents that you have before you were drafted sort of as a not to exceed amount to contemplate these options, mostly to afford council the ability to look through these options and pick and choose. I think from my perspective, my professional opinion, this is really more of a matter of prioritization for the town. Ultimately, fire apparatus is essential. So the most important thing we want to walk away with is we want to make sure we walk away with a good prioritization and plan. So feel free to stop me if I have any outdated information, but the overview of the request in general is on page 1. There's the engine 71 repair. Some of this you have been presented in the past, but it's a approximate $50,000. There's the Spencer engine, which was the majority of the conversation at the last meeting. That and the related outfitting and equipment is a not to exceed amount of $850,250. There's been a request for 3 new staff vehicles, estimated at $240,000. The ladder truck with the related equipment, I had the $2.5 million. I know there's some updates there on the manufacturer's estimate. And then what I put down as the contingent is this ladder repair. So if there is a delay in the replacement of the ladder truck, there are necessary repairs and maintenance that need to be done to extend the life of that. So I put that one out as a contingency. Looking then at the Fire Protection District resources, so in this respect, the certified net assessed valuation is $417 million. That increased about 8% year over year, and over the last 4 to 5 years has averaged, on a 4-year average, has averaged about 18% growth each year. The pay 2025 specific Whiteland Fire Protection District tax rate for property taxes was 0.08 cents, and that is actually down from 2021 of 0.0862. That's per $100 of net assessed valuation of current rates. The Fire Protection District has its own unique and separate debt limit from the town of Whiteland. Because its area is actually larger than the municipal boundary, it also has a higher debt limit than the town. So in this case, there's no debt outstanding. There's the existing maximum debt limit for general obligation bonds, which these would, property tax backed bonds is $2,782,093 currently. There's no fire debt levy currently on property tax bills either. The fire department maintains a special cumulative fire capital fund. It has approximately $409,000 in cash, and it receives about $200,000 per year in new revenues to that fund, and those are expected to grow and increase as the town grows and as those assessed values grow and increase. The department has no leases outstanding currently, and the total requested equipment cost all in is you look at the ladder and the engine, it's several $1 million. So what I want to kind of get into now is really the different options. So if you turn the page, option 1 is very much the literal interpretation of the council's action at the last meeting, which was, hey, to go investigate financing for the replacement of the Spencer engine only. In that specific bond, we would be really prioritizing just the engine. And in that case, it's about an $880,000 bond amount. We would target likely about a 10-year repayment term. I put the estimated payments in there, as well as the estimated tax rates and the estimated impact per $100,000 of assessed value for a residential property on an annualized basis. If it's okay with council, what I'd like to do is just at a high level touch on all of the options, and then I'll come back through and hit on the pros and cons. Because I think each option has its own sort of set of pros and cons, and I just want to make sure to kind of touch on all four corners here. The option 2, I actually presented like a 2A and a 2B. Option 2 is building on option 1. It has we proceed with the new fire engine only, but in this case, we've extended the size of the bonds to essentially include in the bond proceeds the related equipment, the engine 71 repairs, now the ladder repairs that are contingent, as well as the staff vehicles and any other reimbursements. So in other words, in option 2, if all those were approved, we would have to utilize bond and cash on hand. Option 2 just puts it all on the bond to preserve your cash, okay? One of the main takeaways from option 2 is we're still just talking about the engine. The fire department's asking for an engine and a ladder, so we've not addressed the ladder in option 2. So 2B, this was discussed at your last meeting, this concept of trying to do an intentionally short-term option for the engine to provide sort of a worst-case replacement opportunity for the ladder. I am a terrible accountant, so I will defer to others on the feasibility of extending the life to that point, but certainly wanted to provide the math of what that would look like. So in the scenario of option 2B, still primarily prioritizing the engine only, has to address the ladder at a future point, and is intentionally shortening the term to provide a maximum duration of how long that ladder would have to stay. Certainly, the council would have the ability at any point between now and 5 years, if the growth is there or the opportunity is there, to proceed with the ladder in a separate time. And then option 3 on the last page, the last one, and then we'll kind of touch on some of the high-level pros and cons. Option 3 is sort of the all of the above option, right? So in this case, it now incorporates the ladder. The ladder is at such a price point that it would actually occupy, we'd have to move the engine out of the bond. We'd put the ladder towards the bond, and we would utilize a lease financing, equipment lease financing on the engine. So in this case, we would utilize the existing debt limit, prioritize that for the ladder, do the ladder and the equipment related to the ladder. The engine and its related equipment would proceed with a lease financing, and then everything else would be cumulative fire cash on hand, okay? So I know that was a lot, so I wanted to put it in writing so that you'd have, an opportunity to kind of read it, digest it. I'll go through kind of some quick pros and cons and then open it up for any questions on my side. So like most things in finances, it's really how you look at it, right? So there's pros and cons on each one of these. I tried to be really balanced here across all so that, it ultimately is council's decision. Going back to option 1, the pros would be that it does fully, address the funding as the council directed at the last meeting. It fully addresses the engine. That was what was discussed at the last meeting. And it would provide 100% of the financing needed to finance that Spencer contract within the 100-day timeline that was entered into. It also leaves plenty of room for future needs. The downside is with bonds, there's a certain cost of issuance. It is actually fairly inelastic to the amount of the bond. So otherwise, the closing cost to close option 1 versus option 2 are largely about the same. So we've always tried to maintain that, you try to get as much for that as you can, right? Just to be fair to everybody involved. So that is certainly something to note. Additionally, this option 1 does not address the ladder and also places all of the additional equipment repairs all to be funded from Cume Fire on hand, which is again just something we would put on the table as a consideration. Moving to option 2, the pros. In this case, the pros pretty straightforward. You preserve your cash, so that provides a little bit of a rainy day if there's something else that comes up, and just kind of prioritizes that. You've stretched out the cost of issuance over a larger base of projects. The downside is option 2 certainly has a higher levy and tax tax rate, impact over the option one. And again, doesn't address, we'd have to come back and still figure out the ladder at a future point in time.
Adam, let me interrupt. I want to make sure that, I guess there's clarity on the ladder and option two, how that plays.
Yeah.
It sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, that you wouldn't be able to buy a new ladder truck, but there would be funds to do the repair that would be needed right at the moment. Is that
Option
correct?
two, that's correct.
Okay.
Yep, that's correct.
I wanna make
And
sure.
To put the repairs in perspective, because $90,000 is a lot of money, but ladders are a lot of money. So, I mean, you're talking 3-4% of the cost of a ladder is the 90%, or the $90,000 repair, and it is included in option two. Option 2B is exactly the same as option two, just half the time. It is trying to acknowledge that the ladder is on the capital improvement plan, it's an older piece of equipment that was the first time we looked at the town's capital improvement plan, that was noted that the ladder was just as important. At the prioritization meeting we were in, it was just the engine was the top of the board, okay? So no other changes. Option three then, the pros for option three is that it basically addresses everything the fire department's asking for. It can fit within your existing debt and lease aspects. It certainly, it addresses that one sort of fell swoop. The downside is it's about 94% utilization of the fire protection district's existing debt limit. It commits 50% of the annual revenues of the Cume Fire to the lease for 10 years. And it also uses about 2/3 or so of the cash on hand in the Cume Fire. So I hope that was, helpful to kind of go through. Certainly, we could all probably brainstorm 5 or 10 more options here. This isn't by any means exhaustive, but we wanted to try to provide some insight. From my perspective, ultimately, we want to make sure the town has what it needs, and we obviously want to focus on prioritization. At the end of the day, I'm a pretty conservative person, so that's why you see in the memo kind of which route I'm leaning towards. But I certainly understand at the end of the day that we eventually need to have a replacement plan for both. And I'll defer to sort of the council and others on sort of how to prioritize. So for me, there are financial options here. It really comes down to prioritization. I will tell you, as we're newly working with the town, planning and prioritization is a learned skill. And we understand that whatever action council takes, we'll work down the list and prioritize. I'll defer some time to Dennis, but my understanding is time is of the essence on some of these approvals as well with respect to the 100-day. I don't know to what extent we have contingency built in that, but from our side on the financing, we certainly would just ask from council kind of what you want to see included, and we could start to kind of tighten up the numbers and parameters based on that. Any questions for me? Yes,
You
sir.
said something about the 100 days. Is that 100 days to buy this stuff, or is that just to get the bond taken care of?
Yeah. We want to take that one to 100. I'm specifically mentioning that Spencer.
Yeah, I assume that you were referring to and Carmen, you can maybe speak more specifically because I haven't reviewed that agreement recently, but I know that it included it being the agreement it was an option agreement with the producer of that engine. It set a deadline for us to close on the purchase of that engine. To close, you have to have the money. And if you don't close within that deadline, the $75,000 deposit or option fee would be payable. And you pay it and you don't get a truck. That's what
I thought you were talking
about. Time period, 100 days from, do we know what that expiration date is or closing deadline is?
August. It was actually from the May 16th, I think, is the date that I signed that option or the contract to purchase it.
Yeah.
So from there, either 100 or 120.
That's the ladder truck. That was what.
And so
This certain thing, crane.
Dennis may be able to speak more specifically to this.
If you do that.
As I understand it, we have time to go through the process to obtain the funds that we need to buy that truck in the time period that we have. But we have to keep moving it forward, I think is the key, and that we can't just continue this decision to the next meeting without jeopardizing that deadline.
Yeah, my thought would just be, just trying to get clarity on what we're bonding. You know, I think we can work through the process, but meeting over meeting, we went from pursue an engine to now we're looking at an engine and a ladder. So we really want to make sure that we have, while the bond documents are written broadly and can handle that, we want to be able to, I don't want to have to qualify my numbers to you every time with all these different, what ifs. We want to be able to start to lock that in. So really, I think this is a prioritization milestone here. We want to make sure that the town has what it needs, and that's certainly beyond our expertise. But I believe Deb may have had a question.
Yeah, the ordinance 2025-08, it talks about the 2,780,000. Is that what the bond's gonna be, no matter what the decision is, or will that number change after the decision?
I'll take a swing at that and then feel free. So that was a deliberate discussion when this engine and ladder concept came in, was that we essentially, it's drafted as the not to exceed amount, and then to provide you all the opportunity to even discuss this. And then if you decide to only pursue the engine, that amount, Deb, would be revised down to the amount needed.
So just as clarification, option number 3, though, in your memo says that the bond amount is approximately $3,525,000. Can you?
I had to correct that. There should be a revised version. That was a typo on my side.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that now matches the 2,780,000?
Yes.
Okay.
I think 2,625.
Yeah, 2,625. Yep. 2,625 is the latest version.
So I'll come back in with the ladder truck, obviously going down and us not having a ladder truck. I mean, obviously with us having 3-story apartments coming in and 1,000,000-square-foot warehouses, I think the ladder is very important. So I talked to Adam and I talked to Carmen. My recommendation is you do option 3. I mean, if you want to hear from me, because that fixes everything that we need all at once. And then you're still paying the soft cost for the bond at the same time. So in the end, it takes care of everything we need to do right now. It gives us a 2025 ladder truck. So just so you know, the ladder truck that we're going to buy it's a demo truck again. So it was a truck made by Pierce. It's a 100-foot platform ladder that was used at FDIC as their demo truck. So all the bells and whistles are on this one. They did it all up for everything that they needed for the show truck. So it's driving around the country right now, going to different shows, and they're using it as kind of like their truck that they're showing off to everybody at their different trucks or manufacturer places that they're going. The truck itself lists for $2,601,023. They're going to sell to us for $2,300,515. So a savings of $300,508, basically, from the list price to get the ladder. And then we'll be able to have it as soon as the bond closes and we have the funding. They basically said they'll take it off the market, and if we put $10,000 down and do a letter of intent, it's our truck at that point. So don't have to worry about it going up for sale at all. And then the $10,000 would just be dependent on the bond proceeds, funding, and everything else. So we get the staff cars, we get the engine, and then the lease payment on the engine, what we were talking about tonight is $100,000 a year. We bring in $200,000 a year. So, when we talk about using up our debt limit, when it's all said and done, we're still growing cash by $100,000 a year in capital expenses. And then you also have the RDC funds if you ever need to do something for an emergency situation in the future, if anything came up for capital purchases. So to me, with the ladder getting replaced and the warranties that come with it, you know what I mean? You still get a 5-year, 100,000-mile warranty. It's going to have less than 15,000 miles on it just from driving around the country right now, going to the different shows when it comes in. So everything that we have, plus the equipment that'll go on it, will all be completely done and in good shape. So one of the questions was asked is how many runs do we do with this? Right now, we currently do a lot of mutual aid with that ladder. So we go to Franklin, we go to Greenwood as a second ladder truck. So we don't use it a lot first out right now. It's just due to the condition of the truck. I don't trust the current one to be first out the door with the way in the condition that it is right now. So a new truck, I'm going to change the run strings. I think we would run it first out on the warehouses. We'd run it first out on apartment complex fires and stuff like that. So we would get a lot more use out of a truck like this that's much more dependable as we go forward. And then you should get, and that all of these options tonight are dependent on, when you talk about the different ones, if we kick the can down the road tonight and don't do the ladder, you're hoping that I'll get 5 years out of it. I mean, we've already put $25,000 into it. We're looking to put another $90,000 into it. So we're asking for another to see, can we get 5 more years out of the current truck? I don't think that you're gonna get it out of it. It was a Band-Aid when we bought it in the first place, just to have something, 75,000, for a used truck. So to me, if you do this option here, you've got a truck that should last you 25 years when it's all said and done. And we'll take care of it. We got maintenance agreements that we're looking at and everything else. So different things like that that'll be taken care of, at all times on the truck motor. And, the truck itself will be tested on a yearly basis to make sure that we don't run into this again. And I'm happy to answer any other questions.
I have a clarifying question.
Yeah.
I probably misheard.
Yeah.
But the mileage on this new demo truck?
Yeah.
What are you
Not exceed
expecting?
15,000.
15,000?
Yeah, 15, yeah.
I thought he said 1,500.
I thought I heard 150,000.
Oh, I thought we both heard two different things.
So 2025, they're just driving it from.
Because I was gonna ask the same thing.
Conferences right now is what they're doing. So it's got the upgraded light package, it's got upgraded steering, it's got all the different things on it right now. So, and we're saving 300,000 off the list price of it. And then the other thing is, I will tell you, with these trucks, if we go, we try and get 5 years out of it. If you go to spec a truck, it does take 3 to 4 years to have one built. So when you factor in the time that it's gonna take for us to get there and then spec a truck out, if we don't get a demo at the time, if they don't have anything available. So this one we can have in a couple months along with the engine. So this one, like I said, if we do option 3 and go that route. And then the other thing I will say is all the rates that you're seeing in front of you are worst case scenario. That's if we don't grow, Adam, do you wanna touch on that?
Sure.
Sorry.
You're okay. Need my steps. Yeah, I just tried to keep it real simple for the memo tonight, just because there was so many options to begin with, that I just kept everything at current, pay 2025. Like I said, we did look back year over year, 24 to 25. The Fire Protection District grew a little over 8% in that year. The prior 4-year compounded annual growth rate was about 18%. So, we don't expect that to be like a sudden difference for any measure. So any sort of growth would have a positive impact on all of these numbers. But to be conservative and be fair, we just wanted to keep it simple at current values, which is what we can kind of guarantee off of tonight.
Yeah, and if we do a 10-year lease, we're still growing cash by $1 million in 10 years. So even if, we go a 15-year bond, we're looking at $1.5 million in cash that we're growing on the capital, or the cap cum rate, as we're going forward as well in cash. And then do you want to touch on the warehouses that aren't on the books that we talked about yesterday as well from a tax rate perspective?
Yeah, so, we still have, the county has done a good job as buildings are under construction, coming out and doing partial assessments, and then they'll come back. And so we still have quite a few of the buildings. Gateway is a perfect example. That one's been vertical for almost 2 years now, and they still haven't fully come on the books as far as the AV. And so we're looking at, I didn't run exact numbers, but we still have expected, if it builds out the way that it's supposed to, we still have two more buildings on the south side of Whiteland Road and Bob Glidden, and then we still have 1 to 2 buildings on the north side that, we're looking at a couple million square feet that could potentially still be built out. Obviously, that's potential, but what's vertical and what's fully come on the books, I foresee our AV continuing to go up, again, and then we don't even have the apartments on there, and that's gonna be massive AV for us as well. So we still have a lot of opportunity for that growth. The only thing that's limiting us is what the state's telling us, how big we can grow as far as what we can gain back as far as our property taxes. That would be one thing that we do need to keep in mind as far as actual revenue coming to the town, is just how this SEA, CO1, however you want to say it, is going to impact the town in future revenues.
Yeah, ultimately, when it's all said and done, what this does is it's a plan, he was talking about, it runs it off the fire department's finances. So the cash on hand takes care of everything. The lease is paid for by fire department cap cum rate. The bond is paid from the constitutional debt limit from the fire service, from the fire district as well that we have. So it does not take away anything from the town's bonding capacity in the future, and doesn't subtract anything from the town's ability to grow as we go forward as well.
Eric, I got a couple questions.
Sure.
So.
I think I have a question.
But isn't the seed money going away, which is the salaries for the fire department?
CEDA is going away, Deb. We're looking at our capital, we're looking at capital expenditures, and so CEDA has nothing to do with our capital expenditures and what goes into our cap camp. CEDA was helping us with the operational side of the fire department.
Where's,
You cannot use capital expenditures to pay for your operational.
I understand, but we have to have somewhere to pull that money for those, and, you know, I don't know, plus our levy, excess levy's going away.
Yeah, I would agree. The excess levy was for operating cost is what we did on a yearly basis. So yeah, SB 1 took away the 3% growth appeals, which I still don't agree with, because I think if you're growing at 15%, why are they capping you and not letting you go for that? You know what I mean? So I've got plenty to say on that as well that I'll stay away from tonight in the public setting. So any other questions? Sorry.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Richard.
so Slim and Carmen and Adam and we kind of, there's a capital list.
Yeah.
That we're trying to engage the council members and other department heads to engage and put together a plan, because it's difficult for two individuals to kind of do this. So we have Adam come in. So, you know, three things, and we may mention this, there was a truck.
Yeah.
The water issue.
Yeah.
And the sewer issue.
Yeah.
That was the focus. Out of four individuals, that's kind of what we came up with. To be honest with you, I kind of had a lot of heartburn the way this was presented last month.
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
You know, it $1 million hit for a new truck that potentially, you know, just right off the bat without doing due diligence and research, it you know, luckily Adam was here to kind of ease some of that pain, but I was very reserved.
Yeah.
In doing that. Long story short, I'm getting to the point, why did we buy that Greenfield truck if it was a Band-Aid?
Well, because we needed something to protect 1 million square foot warehouses that we have and everything else. So
Well, but you make mention of we have mutual aid runs.
Yes.
And we coincide with Greenwood, Franklin, and Bargersville, correct?
yeah, Franklin and Greenwood for the most part on the east side here of the county.
And then we have $100,000 worth of repairs.
Yeah.
For a $75,000 truck.
Yep.
We're upside down.
Well, yeah, I agree. And that's why I'm presenting options. And like you said, when you're talking about water and sewer and everything else, that this bonding capacity has nothing to do with the town's bonding capacity. So the long-term plan, none of this cash is coming from the town. It's coming from the fire department levy and the fire department bonding capacity. And then the cash is coming from the capital from the fire department's cap cum rate as well.
Yeah, I don't understand. I apologize. I don't understand where all the buckets of money are coming through. That's why we pay him big money to explain that to individuals like myself. But I mean, we're coming to the table for $3 million when we just okayed close to $1 million last month. I mean, we're discussing big ticket items without proper due diligence and research being done, and let alone comprehending that from a council's perspective. I personally think it's way too fast.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. The fire department has currently two different kind of buckets of money that come through the levy property tax process. They have their operating fund, which pays, is kind of their special fire general. And it works just very similar to the town's general fund, but it's just specific to their department. That pays salaries, operating costs, those types of things. And then they have one other fund type that is a special cumulative capital fund. It is still funded through property taxes that come through tax bills. It is a special authorized fund type that is essentially able to accumulate dollars for capital equipment, gear, etc. And it is, the reason why it is a beneficial fund is that specific tax rate, I believe, off the top of my head, 0.033 cents, is the amount of rate that they only would get if they approve that fund. So in other words, those are the two funds they have. They have their general rate, which is set by levy control, and then at some point in time, council has enacted the cumulative special fire fund, which allows them to get additional monies through the property tax system to essentially accumulate dollars for capital equipment, those such items.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be here tonight if it wasn't for an emergency situation where the ladder truck went out of service as well. So, I mean, the engine went down, we're replacing the head gasket on the motor and replacing, $45,000 worth of equipment on the motor. So that was the reason why. That's a 25-year-old engine that we're replacing. So we should have never gotten to that point in the first place. So I apologize. We've basically been going for a long time with old equipment is what we've been doing. And we've been putting Band-Aids on it for a long time. So at some point they're gonna fail. And that's kind of where we're at now. So yeah, we're asking for large amounts, but we have a plan in front of you tonight that takes care of it through the fire department's finances and everything else. And then, like I said, it doesn't pull from the town's finances. So it doesn't affect sewer, it doesn't affect water, it doesn't affect anything that the town's doing from a debt limit at all. So these are emergency situations, special purchases, and you're still getting savings and everything's fixed for the fire department to be able to provide that service. So the one thing people always say is, why don't we use Greenwoods or Franklin's? Well, I don't think it's fair to sit there and say that they pay for it and then we use it anytime we want to. So ultimately, if we're gonna provide the service, I think we should provide the service. So that's my thought process, yeah.
Speaking of that.
Sure, yeah.
And bear with me.
Yeah.
Because I know nothing about your guys' job. But is it required for us to help other communities, or do we do it as a partnering thing to partner up with people in case we get in a situation they could come and help us, correct?
Yeah, we do. So we sign a mutual aid agreement with the county every single year. So
okay, well,
the first 12 hours, basically, we agree to help everybody around us if they call.
Okay.
So it takes roughly 20 to 30 to 40 firefighters to put out a large fire. So we only run 3 on a daily basis here in Whiteland. So we're not paying for that operating cost. You know what I mean? So,
right, and I understand that, but here's my point.
Sure.
If we bought this fire truck knowing that it was a cookie cutter,
yeah,
I'm wondering why we would send it out of town on runs when Greenwood's got several of them, Franklin's got one. And I mean, we know we have to protect our community just as well as they have to protect theirs. But if we knew we had a Band-Aid truck, I'm just kind of curious of why we would take it out of our jurisdiction and put more mileage on it or put more wear and tear on it in a situation. Then that's all I'm asking, because if I got something old, I can't keep it around town. That way, if it does.
I say this all the time. If somebody picks up the phone and calls 911, I don't want to get into the business of deciding which ones we take and which ones we don't. So
right, but you said we're secondary.
Yeah, we are secondary.
Okay,
yes,
well,
but then we expect. So if we have a big fire right now, I can't do it by myself with what we're providing here in town. So we have to ask for other people. So I always say, if they're asking, then we should be helping, because we're going to ask them to come in and provide all the service for us in our area as well, since we're only paying for 3 people on a daily basis.
Correct, and I understand that, and like I said, I don't know your guys' business. I'm trying to learn everything up here. Believe me, we're here one day a month, and we're trying to figure it all out. As my point of view, it's a lot of money.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I told you that in the beginning when you said something about a ladder truck. I said, "Wow, I wish that I didn't have to deal with it, because that's a lot of money to throw at people like me. Don't understand the full force of everything of what needs to be done. Why is this way, and that's why I'm just trying to get an answer on why if we had a cookie cutter, why we keep running it out. I understand to help them, but we got other trucks that might be able to help them, and that was my only concern, is getting something out on the road, temporarily break it down over there. Then we got to pay record bill, we got to pay this, and that's the only thing I was asking.
Yeah, it's a lot of money, and I think Adam can speak to this as well. In the last 10 years, they've absolutely shot up. So pushing it 5 years down the road isn't going to make it any cheaper. You know what I mean? So it just continues to go up. I mean, I've been in the fire service for 26 years. These trucks were 1.2 million, 10 years ago. Now we're looking, everything's over 2 million. And a lot of it's just manufacturers have gone together and bought each other out, and they've raised the prices up, and it continues to go up. It's an actual big story that's going on across the country right now. So basically every 3 months, you're seeing an increase on the cost of the truck itself. So same way with the engines, same way with the ladders. I mean, I could used to buy an engine for $500,000. I can't touch one now for, less than $800,000 when it's all said and done. So that's kind of where we're at. So any other questions on equipment or anything else that we're looking at?
Yeah, one other question. So, how many mutual aid runs do we have rerun in the last 12 months, 24 months, and 36 months? How many runs have we done? What's the total number?
I do not have that off the top of my head right now. Now, I can provide that at a later date. I don't have that in front of me currently right now.
I've got a question too.
Yep.
On these 3 service vehicles you're wanting.
Yep.
Okay. You're wanting to replace the trucks that we have.
Yep.
What is the mileage on each truck that you're wanting to replace?
Yeah, so What's the mileage on yours right now, do you know?
I'm at 94,000.
Okay, what's the mileage on yours?
So mine is the newest one. So what I want to do is I want to turn it into a station vehicle so that the officers can come in and have that. So I want to keep it. Mine's at like 10,000 miles.
Okay. What about the third
other
truck?
one is like 50,000, somewhere in that ballpark, and it's a 2016. So what I want to do is I want to trade in his and I want to trade in the other one. So it'll take 14,500 off on trade if we go that route with the two of them. The 2016 Durango and his is a 2013 Ram that they've offered us trade in on as well.
I really don't have the problem of trading a truck in when it's close to 100,000.
Sure.
I really have a trouble trading a truck in with 50,000 or 60,000. My truck at home, my diesel, I got 149,000 on it. My Jeep's got high mileage. My other truck, I mean, I still think there's a lot of life in them vehicles to get rid of them that early. I mean, especially because we have to equip our new ones so much with lights and all the medical stuff that it does make them expensive, and I truly understand that. I have a little bit of uneasy feeling with replacing them. The big one, almost 100,000, I think you should replace it because that's when it's going to start nickel and diming you.
Yeah, and the one that you're talking about, the 2016 with the 50,000 miles, that one dies all the time. So it's battery issues.
Right, but you can take that somewhere and get it replaced cheaper than we can buy a new truck.
Correct, yeah. But what I'm saying is on the special service vehicles, the ones that I'm bringing you, these are not, like we're not asking for $95,000 town and countries. You know what I mean? These are special service. Chief Schiff, do you want to talk about the Tahoes and everything that you guys have as well?
We found, I mean, the Tahoes is the way to go as far as maintenance, durability, and enough room to work out of. Our Durangos we're kind of down on because we're on our third movie on our newest one.
All under warranty.
Right, and I understand that part, but I thought it said 3 trucks was like 250,000.
Yep, that's what I saw.
And that's what I saw. That's more than $60,000. What you guys are telling me that you buy yours for, and then and that's lights and
the ones that are in stock right now are 52.7 is what they are. So the 240 that we have on there, that includes equipment. So lighting, packages, sirens, and everything else, and then install on all that stuff to put on there. So the 240 includes that in that equipment and everything else. So like if I take my truck right now and make it a station vehicle for the officers to pick up and run it or do a squad or whatever else we want to do with it. So my radio is still $5,000, you know what I mean? So it's going to stay in that truck. So I need to buy a radio.
Oh, I completely understand that. But what about the radios in the other trucks? Do you pull them out and recycle? You recycle them?
That's on the high side is what you're seeing. The 240, I don't think we'll hit 240 when it's all said and done. So I think that's just putting it into the bond and talking about capital expenditures if we get to that point.
See, I'm learning all this. I'm learning everything when it comes to this. And I'll be honest, at times I do get overwhelmed with figures because I'm just an ordinary person. But wow, I just do, like I said, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to tell you straight up. I have trouble with 3 service vehicles when they got low mileage. If I could drive a little bit of high mileage car, so could the town. I mean, and that's just how I feel because we got to save the town residents money. And this is going to raise the taxes. And then we're going to all own for that. I mean, we already did other things. We're going to do other things through the year with water, sewer bills and stuff like this. I mean, it just seems like how I feel as a resident that I feel we're just going to get beat up this whole year. I hate to say this, but with all the changes we have to make as a council, pretty much not going to be liked because we're picking the hardest times to come in here and try to do this with the water rates, the sewer rates, the ADUs, everything. So that was my concern. And I've never been one to max out my credit card.
Sure, yeah.
And that scares me as a person. I don't like to max stuff out because I like to have a little cushion in case something goes out. And that was concerning me. But like Adam says, you still do give money in and in. But if there was a big correct, and I understand that part of it. And I read this, and believe me, I read it 3 or 4 times trying to figure it all out. And I was having issues with it. But that's why I was glad you explained it, and I do appreciate it. It's just a lot of money.
Absolutely, yes.
It seems like we're wanting.
Not cheap, I will say that. So
I agree.
Our rates are lower than the majority. If I bring in the rates of all the fire departments in the county, we're nowhere near what everybody else, when you factor in general fund, debt fund, cap cum and everything else, we're not even close. So we're already way behind what everybody else is basically.
But do the towns take care of other fire stations, or is it?
Yeah,
are you?
it's embedded, yeah, so they can pull, so a lot of them, yeah, if you want to touch on that.
Sure. Yeah, this is, we'll just go immediate to your neighbors. Looking over at Bargersville, they're decoupled. So the town of Bargersville is a wholly separate unit of government. The Bargersville Fire Protection District, wholly separate district. So they maintain two separate, but they're completely siloed organizations.
Correct.
Currently. North of you, Greenwood, in that respect, obviously city versus town, but in that case, they're actually more synonymous with Whiteland. They have, the council approves the fire department's budget, tax rates, a unified tax rate. What's unique to Whiteland is, in the case of Greenwood, the municipal boundary is actually larger than the fire protection district. Whereas in Whiteland, your fire protection district is actually larger than the municipal boundary.
Okay, and I appreciate that, because like I said, I'm like, look, I'm a little bit like Richard, I'm sticker shocked. I'm not gonna lie, guys. It seems like this is coming at us 100 mile an hour. And my head is spinning around and around trying to keep up with this stuff. To me, and this is just how I feel, I'd like to focus on the truck, get it done. Then we need to focus on the ladder. I understand, believe me, I understand we want everything. I get that. But it's a lot for me to take in.
Well, I will say this, even if you just focus on the truck itself, you still have to pay $90,000 to get the ladder back in service. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right, I agree with that, but it's still not $1 million, it's still not $1,300,000.
Correct, yes.
And that's my point. That's what scares me more than anything is the $1,300,000. I mean, I don't know. I don't know a lot about finances, so bear with me. I just is scared to max out something. When someone tells me they're maxing it out, it makes me nervous in case there's something bad what happens. But that's just me because how I grew up, and I know my finances is
Now,
always.
my argument would be you're not maxing out completely. So what he's talking about when we're talking about maxing out, he's talking about the 10 cents for SB1. So that's the referendum as we go forward is what he's talking about when it comes to that 10 cents. So you're not maxing out your debt limit. So we're talking about if you had to go to, if something big would happen, you know what I mean? So say the fire station got knocked down and you had to replace the fire station and there was no insurance to help cover it. You know what I mean? Like what happened recently. So you got to spend $2 million. You know, at that point, then you got to be careful of your debt limit hitting the 10-cent ceiling. Once it does that, then Senate Bill 1 kicks in a possible referendum.
Right, and that's just all new stuff for me. I'm learning.
Yeah, that's what we're all learning and trying to figure out as well.
It's hard to figure out the right thing to do for everybody to please you, to please the town citizens, to please them, and it is unique. So thank you for answering my question.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
And actually, this is probably more for Adam and Dennis. And Adam, I think you're the one that mentioned this. And that has to do with, I guess, what needs to be decided tonight.
Yeah.
I know we have proposed bond ordinances and resolutions and whatnot. And they're based upon the maximum, I believe, that we need. But you mentioned something about needing to make a decision, I thought, between these options tonight. Is that true?
Well,
and can you explain that? Or could that be kind of mulled over and postponed in terms of that part of the decision until next month?
Yeah, I think it is actually the latter. As we were talking through the close date we have in June.
We have July 17th.
July 17th. So the risk would be the meeting dates, if there was some sort of continuation of business between that and the Spencer deadline. So that's
what I'm getting at is, we could have, passed these on first reading tonight to avoid delaying our timeline.
Correct.
And this doesn't lock us into option 1, 2, or 3.
Correct.
By adopting these. They can decide next month how much they actually want to, bond for.
I think that is a true statement. Do you agree, or?
Yeah, I'm back here. Nice shirt and tie, by the way.
You too.
Yeah. We can introduce the ordinances tonight. adopt the reimbursement resolution. And you mentioned it's not to exceed, but you have a month to mull it over, you come back at the next council meeting. And I think what I would suggest is we could have the ordinances ready and, you know, you could, before adopting them, amend them if you wanted to lower that not to exceed amount. Let's say you all decided, we're not gonna do the ladder truck, let's, other than the repair, just for example, and we could have those amounts kind of calculated to go, okay, the ordinances as introduced are going to be adopted with the amendments added and not to exceed amount. That would be what I would recommend. That would keep us on a path to still be able to close the financing in the July date and the 100-day schedule that is set out in that agreement, so we don't lose the deposit. And I think, Stephen, that was kind of what you're getting at, is trying to keep us on track, but not obligate you to make a decision tonight, give you time to.
Yeah, unless you're ready to make a decision. I just wanted to make sure you knew what your options were.
All right, well, I mean, I have a couple questions here.
Sure.
Thank you. So, I mean, it's like five vehicles all of a sudden are like an emergency.
Yep.
And so I'm having a hard time understanding how that can be the case when every other department or my own personal experience is like, hey, these are the things that we're working on this year, next year, the following year. And it's like, hey, these need to be taken, this action needs to be taken quickly. We had to take action quickly on the ladder truck that we currently have, and that didn't really work out too well for us.
Correct. Yes.
So like, I'm not terribly interested in repeating that same mistake then.
Yeah.
And so like, I mean, we're talking $250,000 for some staff vehicles like that, I mean, I don't think that's an insignificant ask either when we weren't planning on doing any of those this year.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they're now like, this is like somehow a high priority. And I mean, that doesn't seem like a very conservative use of the funds to me. I mean, I've personally authorized similar purchases.
Yeah.
And I mean, I didn't spend $250,000 on 3 vehicles. Nowhere close to it. And so I'm just like, I'm not really comprehending that at all. Like, I mean, we're hearing, hey, we need this, you know, like a fire engine. Okay, and yeah, sure. But then it's like, hey, let's like find every want that's, you know, we've had for anybody in the department and like, hey, let's dump it in on this thing. That's kind of what I'm receiving out of this.
Yep.
And I mean that I don't necessarily like it. I'm interested. We bought that ladder truck. Let's ride with that thing. Let's get it fixed. But like, why, you know, like, is there a problem with taking care and maintaining of our equipment? Because now we have 5 vehicles.
Yep.
Like how many fire department vehicles are there? Are there 5? Are there 6 or 7? Because we have.
There's more. So there's the tanker, the rescue, the current rescue that we have, the used one that we bought, and then the ladder's the used one. So the engine and then the reserve engine. So the current engine right now that's getting fixed is going to become the reserve engine with everything that it needs on it. So we're going to obviously get the new one in here in 120 days when it's all said and done. So no, I understand. Yeah, the staff cars were on the replacement schedule. So I think looking at the soft cost and the bond cost and everything else like that, and overall, you know, and the ladder truck, it's been on there for years, a replacement on the ladder truck. So obviously it's gone bad, you know what I mean? So if you want us to ride with it, we can ride with it. We'll just put 90,000 into it. And then, like I said, there's no guarantee that in 6 months from now, something else doesn't happen as well. I mean, so that's my thought process. And I've been doing this a long time. So, you know, and I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm just saying, you know, I've done this 26 years and I've watched these fire trucks. So ladder trucks, you should get 25 to 30 years out of them if they're maintained properly. So obviously on the used one, I can't tell you 100% where it's at, you know what I mean? So obviously it's got some issues that need to be fixed right now. So the engine, you know, you should only be getting 10 to 15 years out of engines at a busy fire department. So, you know, we got 20 some years out of that other engine right now. And then the other one's at 25 to 27 years for the backup one. So there's a difference right there, you know what I mean? In the amount of years that we're getting out of those. So we're definitely getting our money's worth out of the trucks over time. So, you know, we're putting the money into them and repairing them and getting them fixed and keeping them running. So I don't know of any other fire, you know, departments in the county that are running engines of that age. You know what I mean? When it's all said and done. I think Colin kind of presented on that last month. when you look at the different, types and everything else. So yes, there's a lot of money right there, but yes, it's kind of a, if we're gonna do it, let's fix what we can, while we have the opportunity. So I get the staff cars. I mean, if the staff cars come out, my recommendation would be at least do the ladder and do the engine. You know what I mean? And those opportunities are all there to still be able to, provide that service as we go forward. So we have to provide protection at the end. And then obviously I've done this for, like you said, for a long time and looking at finances and stuff like that and making sure that we're providing a good service. So when we came underneath the town, it was to make sure that we were providing a good service to obviously the citizens of the town and taking care of the patients and everybody else that we run on. So having working equipment at night, that's the biggest thing that I want to be able to provide when it's all said and done.
So, I mean, is there a problem with maintenance or anything though? All, staff vehicles are breaking down, everything's breaking down all at the same time. Are we having some sort of operational hiccup that needs to, that's the underlying issue that needs to be addressed?
Yeah, and I've got pricing, so it's gonna be about $1,500 per year per truck to do PMs. So preventative maintenance, to do an actual agreement with McQueen, which is a company up in Whitestown that we'll use, that they'll come out and do that. And we factor in trip charges and everything for them to come down. They'll do it twice a year or whatever. It's an annual, go through the truck at NFPA, look over and make sure, change all the fluids and stuff like that. So yes, we do need to get on a,
We don't do that now though?
No, we do not.
What about the staff vehicles? Are they on any preventative maintenance or anything?
Yeah, we just do the oil changes whenever they come up. So we keep doing the oil changes like we're supposed to every 3,000 to 4,000 miles. So yeah, there is no, basically on a 6-month basis, these trucks should be going through and oil changed and everything else. Depending, a lot of them are based on hours and how much usage they get and everything else like that. So, like I said, when I started in 2017, we were doing 700 runs a year. We're doing 1,500 runs a year now. So obviously we're getting busier and running them a lot more than we used to.
But we're doing 1,500 runs and we don't have a maintenance program installed.
Yeah, so I will say this, I'm not trying to say anything.
I know, but that should go
For the
hand in
longest time,
hand.
we've worked through the town on maintenance. So my recommendation is that, not saying that in a bad way, we need to probably outsource our maintenance, you know what I mean? So not trying to say anything in a public setting, but if I had my choice, I would outsource to somebody who works on fire trucks all the time. You know what I mean? Have that kind of maintenance done. So on a PM basis, that's what I would recommend.
So just for clarification, because my head's kind of spinning on what we have here. So we approved a truck last month in the 11th hour.
Yep.
800,000 plus, okay.
Yep.
So, and then I've got 2 quotes here for $150,000. What are these quotes to? One's Cummins and one's McQueen. So what repairs the unfunctional, inoperable ladder truck that the new one's $2.7 million? What covers that? These two?
Let me just clarify real quick. On engine 71, we discussed getting it repaired. And then at the April 15th meeting, the council decided not to exceed 40,000. There's been additional things that have been uncovered or discovered that need repaired, and so it takes us over that 40,000. So that's.
So is that McQueen?
The Cummins, that's the Cummins one. And on there should be just a summary. It's like an additional $8,000, which would take the total to just under 43,000. Again, you only gave me the threshold of up to 40,000. So this is to rebuild engine 71, which would then become the backup to this new engine that you all have already approved. And then the McQueen, that's later on, that's that contingent 90,000 that if we choose not to move forward with purchasing a new ladder, that we would ask for the consideration to approve the 90,000. So that's later in the agenda, depending on how this goes.
So Eric, to move off center off of this, what if we added and repaired the truck that we have to buy us some time?
Yep.
And I'm not so sure about the trucks, the additional vehicle thing. I think that is a different conversation for a different day because we are in the weeds with that figure. But what if we added the repair to that and continue the dialogue to buy us some time and have additional conversation and socialize this amongst the council and everybody and get it on the capital and get creative on funding?
Yep.
if the funding mechanism is here today, it's gonna be here 6 months or 12 months on the bonding issue. The interest rate might be different. It might be better.
Yeah.
And maybe approach it like that. I'm with everybody. Joe hadn't really commented, but I mean, this is a hard pill to swallow on the amount of money.
Yeah, got it.
I would assume rather to kind of keep things going, to buy us some time and not put us in jeopardy. But yes, we also have the luxury, and to quote you, of piggybacking on Franklin, Greenwood, and the others, if we do have a ladder truck need.
Yeah.
Until we can buy some time.
I would say that if it's in service, so if their truck is down or if it's being used on another call, the same.
Well, I mean.
Then you're just guaranteed, then you're just hoping.
That happens with everything though.
Yeah.
Right? So they're gonna rely on another municipality truck because theirs is in service and getting an oil change. I mean, it's gonna rotate, right?
I guess my thought would be, we need to approve some full flavor of bond tonight. And it can be at whatever amount, because it's just a first reading. And we can change it to whatever we want to at the next meeting. My thought would be, we've all got a lot to consider here. There's a lot of new information here. I share the same hesitations that the other council members have expressed, about option 3. I have a lot of hesitation on that. My thought would be, for tonight, approve the bond as it's written, and then we can all have 30 days to talk to the chief, to talk to Adam, to talk to whoever we need to, come down to where we land on this, and then we make a decision on whether it's option 1, 2, 2B, 3, or something different, at our next meeting, because we do have 30 days to think about this either way.
And the only thing I say is I won't be here next meeting. And not that it's gonna make a difference, but I'm just being transparent. I won't be here on vacation, so.
Can't be here virtually?
No, not.
Come on now, Pete, come on, you don't need a tip.
Well, and I mean,
I agree.
it's gonna have to be voted on in our next
Yeah.
meeting, no matter
So-
what.
I
So
do
that
think
would be
we
my
need to
thought.
Move off center and make a decision on a bonding thing and then, so.
So, should we just wanna move on to the next order of business, or what would council suggest?
To move things, keep it on the current timeline, we need to,
Well, but I mean, there's another order of business for the bond, right? Am I wrong about that, the bond ordinance?
Our bond department update.
the,
Receipts.
Next line item.
at minimum, I would recommend the reimbursement resolution be adopted. Now, as to the ordinances, we don't necessarily have to officially pass them on first reading. We typically have. They have been introduced tonight. I mean, I think we need to make it on the record that both ordinances are introduced tonight. And desire to have them have particularly the appropriation ordinance for a hearing. And so if you want to speak to those issues, please add.
Thanks, Stephen. I think the key is, and I think you hit it, just need for the record to reflect that they're being introduced tonight. Mr. Hill, you indicated you're gonna be gone next month, and just so we don't have an issue of we have to kind of, it's sort of hearing the ordinances for the first time and suspension of the rules thing. But I think we've got that covered for the record. So I think what we want to do here is, acknowledge that we've introduced the bond ordinance and the appropriation ordinance, and we'll carry those over for the next meeting to be further considered, and also have the public hearing on the appropriation ordinance at the next meeting. And we will take care of advertising that notice. And then, yeah, the reimbursement resolution, we shouldn't have adopted this evening. I want to make clear the reimbursement resolution doesn't obligate the council to do anything to issue any debt or anything like that, but what it does is protects you. If you spend money on these fire projects, you can reimburse yourself later on from them. So you don't have to do it. It's kind of a safeguard that we recommend for tax law purposes.
And related to it, I know we spent a lot of time, but it may at least be good to, in a very thumbnail summary fashion, explain what the bond ordinance 2025-08 is and would do, and then also what ordinance 2025-09, the appropriation ordinance.
Certainly. Yeah, ordinance 2025-08 is a bond ordinance. And as mentioned, this is a bond issue of the fire district. The council are authorizing that, but it authorizes currently in its form not to exceed $2,780,000. I think what we discussed, we'll come back at the meeting next month and we can modify that number. We'll work with Adam and others to sort of have the ordinances set up so that can be corrected at the meeting. And it authorizes them at a not to exceed interest rate of 6%, semi-annual principal and interest on January 1 and July 1 payment dates for a term ending no later than 2040. Provides tax covenant provisions so the bonds will be federally tax exempt. Provides that the levy will be put in place and the levy will be used to pay the debt service on the bonds. So at a high level, this is a standard general obligation type bond ordinance. If you're a bond, you buy these bonds, this is your contract with the town. Basically saying you're going to levy that tax to pay these bonds. You'll covenant to do that and they'll be tax exempt. You're going to use it for public purposes and you're going to use it for the equipment that's described in the ordinance. I'll move on to the appropriation ordinance real quick and I'll be able to answer questions. The appropriation ordinance simply appropriates the proceeds of the bond. So kind of like your budget, you can't spend monies until you've done an appropriation. When you get the bond proceeds, you can't legally spend it until you've appropriated it. So when we do these bond issues, we'll always do an appropriation together with the bond ordinance, so we've got that taken care of before you actually close on the bonds. Theoretically, we could close on a bond issue and you not spend the money until you did the appropriation. That's all we're doing here. And I mentioned to Melissa, and I think Stephen, you called me, we had a draft in here of a $2,500,000 figure here that was an early iteration, so that'll get updated to the amount when we meet next month, the amount that you decide to plug into that, depending on what your decision is. And then the reimbursement resolution itself, I think I touched on that. That's simply for tax law purposes allows you to spend money now on these projects and then reimburse yourself with taxes and bond proceeds. Happy to answer any questions and clear up anything on that if you have any questions.
Mr. Watson, what's your thoughts on it? So you explained that.
I think we can consider both the ordinance 2025-08 and -09 introduced tonight, which satisfies the 2-meeting rule. With any issue of suspension holds at the next meeting and allows us to, advertise for an appropriation hearing. And really the only action that would need to be taken at this point to keep us on track is adoption of the reimbursement resolution 2025-04. And then separately, the last thing related to this would be approval of the engagement letter with bond counsel for these bonds.
In regard to 2025-09, the 2.7 million, we're not going to commit ourselves to that dollar figure, correct?
Well, that's up to you whenever you make a final decision. But you're not making a final decision tonight.
Tonight, no.
Yeah, and it was intended, and I'm not sure what happened, but it was supposed to be 2025-09, an appropriation ordinance in the amount of not to exceed $2,780,000. It was a typo to have the 2.5 million, but regardless, the number is subject to change next week, next month. whenever you make a final
Depending on
decision.
what's voted on the
Right.
final.
Yeah. That said, the advertisement, I would intend to advertise the public hearing at the 2.78 million number.
I would just add that that number is the max. So that was put in there intentionally. That was the maximum amount of the protection district. So it fully contemplates all the options. I may have to be virtual at the next meeting as well. So just, if I may, just leave you just for closing comments as you all contemplate over the next couple months. You know, as I open, like, to me, this is a prioritization exercise more than anything. You know, I think from our side, as we've done other fire apparatus and fire engines, I mean, one of the kind of principal things here that we usually see is like, this should be a pretty like good, you know, well-received piece of equipment. So if you don't have that sort of piece or like excitement, that's probably indicative of you need more information or, you know, something like that. So just as you think about it, reflect on it over the next couple of weeks, I just wanted to share that experience of usually, you know, these are, we want to make sure that you're all, you know, excited about the equipment. I think the only other thing I would say is, you know, if your ultimate decision is not option 3, meaning you do something besides the ladder now, that is it's not a no to the fire department, it's a not yet. And I think that just goes back to sort of that kind of just trying to build that planning muscle, you know, across the, you know, town at large for that matter. And it just would be that then we'd have to go to priority 2, which would be, let's say, ladder, and we got to go and work through what that looks like. So I just wanted to take advantage of being able to say that in person if I'm not able to be here at the next meeting in person.
Thank you, sir.
I've got a question for you, and it's because I'm not running to you. Okay, say Richard's not here, and me and Joe vote one way, Debbie and Brad, sorry, name slipped my mind. Brad votes another way, and it's a tie. Who breaks that?
By statute, that is the clerk treasurer's responsibility.
Okay, I was curious. I thought that's how it went, but I wasn't for sure. Oh, yeah. Thank you. I thought that's how it was. I just wanted to wanted to make sure you knew.
So, Mr. Watson,
Die now.
so we need to have like a motion for 2025-08, 2025-09. Is that what we're doing?
Technically, you don't need a motion on it.
They just had to be introduced.
Okay.
But I will make a motion to approve the reimbursement resolution 2025-04. It has no effect until we pass 08 and 09.
I'll second it. Thank you for stating that.
A roll call, please.
Tim
I
Brown?
didn't hear the motion.
Could you repeat the motion?
The motion.
Oh,
Go ahead.
sorry, Deb, my motion is just to approve the reimbursement resolution, understanding that it doesn't take effect until we were to pass the ordinances at next month's meeting.
She needs earbuds.
Roll call, please.
Tim Brown?
Yes.
Brad Godecker?
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson?
Yes.
Joe Saylor?
Yes.
Richard Hill?
Yes.
Passed 5-0.
That's just like her dog.
I'll also make a motion to approve the engagement letter with bond counsel, engaging them to secure this bond on the behalf of the fire department.
And that's this.
Yeah.
And I would just mention that virtually identical to the GEO bond engagement letter that we entered into with them approximately 2 or 3 years ago, including the fee.
What he said.
Okay. Have a motion, we have a second. Did you say? Roll call, please.
Tim Brown?
Yes, ma'am.
Brad Godecker?
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson? Deb?
Yep.
She's got a strobe light going on.
Oh, you're muted again. There
Yes.
Joe Saylor?
Yes.
Richard Hill?
Yes.
Passed 5-0.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Thank you. New business, Carmen.
All right, ordinance 2025-07, ordinance repealing redundant section of 50.1 or 42 of the town ordinance concerning sewer connection fees. As we kind of looked at this, it is actually referenced in our town code in section 50 or chapter 50 twice, in 50.42 and 50.87. And so there's conflicting information. So you all passed not new connection fees, but we did update our EDU, our equivalent domestic unit. So as we were kind of going through this, we realized that there was, again, some redundancy. So this ordinance basically just repeals 50.42, which previously had said, this section 50.42, cost of expenditure of installation and connection of building sewer indemnification, subsection A, subsection 1, 2, 3 be amended to read as follows. The owner of any building or platted lot required to connect to sanitary sewer system of the town of Wyland pursuant to this chapter shall pay the following connection fees. 1, where the building or platted lot is served by 3/4 inch water line, the connection fee shall be $2,000. That conflicts with our connection fee of $500. And we actually spell it out and break it out per meter size. And so we're just asking to repeal that part.
Pretty straightforward, right?
I will move to approve.
Have a
I
second.
will second it.
Joe and Tim, roll call, please.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Brad Godecker.
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson,
She's mute.
She said yes, I seen her lips move.
Yes.
Give her like a
We do.
Sailor,
Yes.
Richard Hill.
Yes.
pass 5-0.
And that would be first reading. Is there any need to suspend the rules on this?
There's no need to rush it.
I prefer not to.
2025-05.
So
Capital
this is
asset.
a resolution to establish a capital asset management policy. So just kind of following up on previous conversations we've had on capital expenditures, purchasing. This is something that was recommended by Adam to adopt a formal policy. And so it's set before you as far as it basically mirrors what we're doing now as far as depreciation and helping us with this capital improvement list that we talked about on the fire department. It does kind of talk about asset life, various, what land would be, buildings, machinery, equipment. Again, just formalizes an actual capital management policy that we would like to have passed by you all. Questions?
We have to have this plan in order to be eligible for a bunch of grants, right?
Correct.
This coincides with the spreadsheet that we
Yes.
okay.
Yes. And it also with like insurance purchases or as we look to dispose of equipment, we talked about the threshold and what needs to come before you. So it's
Yeah, we definitely need to have one. It cuts us off from all sorts of grants and other things. If we don't, then it's just good business. So I'll move to approve it.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Brad Godecker.
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson,
Yes.
Joe Sailor,
Yes.
Richard Hill,
Yes.
pass 5-0.
RDC Annual Report 2024.
Yes. Statute was revised regarding the redevelopment commission, and it now requires each year, not only does the redevelopment commission have to file their annual report with you, but they also have to present it to you in a public meeting. So that's why it's on the agenda. And I'll just kind of go through the highlights. On this, it starts out by saying who was on the committee, or excuse me, on the commission, and then on the second page it gets into the financial numbers. The commission started in 2024 with a balance of $688,000 and ended the year with a balance of $1.2 million. It also that was in the Whiteland Advancement Allocation Area, which is the original main area, but we also now have the patch Phase 1 allocation area. And it started with a zero fund balance and now has an $83,000 fund balance. We do have bonds issued for from the Phase 1 patch allocation area, as well as the Phase 2 allocation area. And those are listed on the third page. $7.25 million outstanding balance on the Phase 1 bond and $7.3 million on the Phase 2 bond. And the amount paid in 2024 was $54,000 towards the Phase 1. And if I remember correctly, that actually was extra above and beyond what was expected or scheduled. We have to give them we've allocated 80% of the TIF revenue from the Phase 1 area. And I believe there was $54,000 that came out of that area this year that was not really planned. And so it's kind of an advance payment, which is good, pays things off earlier. And that's a good thing. And then there's a summary of activities throughout 2024. That's listed there. Of course, we closed on the Phase 2 of the TIF bonds for the Gateway at Whiteland, which is the patch project. We authorized transfer switches for the generators for the sewer lift stations. Purchased some extraction equipment for the fire department. Purchased a Lucas machine for the fire department for providing automated compressions for cardiac arrest patients. We enlarged or started the enlargement of the Whiteland Economic Development Area to add the State Road 31 area. And we amended started the amendment of the Economic Development Plan to allow TIF funds to be used for police and fire departments. And those are the highlights, I think. And then you have just some boilerplate stuff that's required under statute, and then a list of all the parcels and their AVs. So that's the presentation. If there's any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Good job, thank you.
Thank you.
And that's annually, you have to do that?
Yes.
We don't have to act on anything, that's just FYI?
Right.
Didn't Strauss change their name? Didn't they sell out?
Yeah.
Because it says Strauss rolled off, so I was just.
Well, and that's because.
It was in the year that this was done, right?
No, it was actually a form of the acquisition of the Strauss property was done through some form of a merger. And so that allowed them to maintain the name of the property owner without having to change it.
Okay. Thank you. I was just curious.
Any other questions?
No, sir.
Murata Associates?
So this one real quick, so is one of the key points that came out of the Invigorate assessment was looking at our onboarding and what do we do as far as pre-employment screening. And to be honest, I will say that I know the folks that we've hired, we may have done reference checks, but we're not really doing background checks on folks. So what I'd like to do is move it to a third-party administrator. I know we've kind of done some not checks, but different checks within the police department, but they're limited with where they can search. This is something that I think would, as we look at an employee handbook revision, we need to work with each department because police and fire may have different criteria than maybe what the town general employees need, but then maybe the clerk treasurer's office or financial office has different requirements as far as what we need to look for as far as a background check. The other thing is that right now we don't have criteria. What do we allow? What do we not allow? We can only ask if somebody's been convicted of a felony on the application, but we haven't set criteria if we would hire a felon. So things of that nature. Again, it was a recommendation that came out of Invigorate. Melissa's team and I met with Barada just as a quick, hey, what would be some things that they could provide? It's $30 per pre-employment screening, and in the background package, the background check, it also looks at sex offenders. That's something we've never even set criteria of what we would allow and what we would not allow upon hiring. In addition, they can also provide us with specific criminal county searches, credit reports. Again, we've not set criteria. So as we move forward with this HR discussion, the key thing would be set criteria and then have resources to be able to administer whatever criteria is set. So $30 per pre-employment screening, I don't think that that's excessive, but again, I want that to come from you all as far as what you would like to see. If it's something you'd like for us to be able to do as we look to hire people, again, police, fire, general, town, public works, if they have a DOT, CDL, those kinds of things, we need to start setting some criteria. So this is just one step towards that direction, but it would be working with department heads as we move forward on what would we allow, what would we not, and come before you all to make that final decision. So just want to present that to you. That's an option for us to enter into this agreement with Barada for any pre-employment screening options.
You're asking us to take action on that tonight?
If you so choose, you don't have to.
It looked pretty standard from everything that I know of such things. I don't have any, I don't know if anybody else.
I got some questions about it for Carmen. I had to take one for the church to work on their safety team. I had to take one to work for Bargersville. I went to the sheriff department, got it. Do you do a background check on people? What does it cost for our city to do it on one person?
It doesn't cost us that.
So versus doing.
The only thing we can't do is we can't do credit.
Right.
But criminal background, yes.
And why would it, I guess I just have a problem with a credit check because a person can make some bad choices in life. Why should that hesitate him from getting a job? And is this something that stays strictly with HR and no department heads see it?
So I guess like I said, this was a recommendation that came from Invigorate. And as we proceed, I think we need to establish what we think would be criteria to then come before you to say, is this something we want to do? Are there certain job tasks that would require that? We have to bond people that touch the money, that handle the money.
That
We
would
don't
be
do
the
it.
only one that needs a credit check because they can't get bonded in the finance office.
Right, and I understand that.
And that's what I'm saying is that I'm a little ahead, but this would be a discussion with the department heads to say, what is our criteria? What would we like our criteria to be? A lot of employers have gone to getting real lax, even on drug screens, and that's something else that will be coming forth to you. Obviously certain positions, we don't want them to be testing positive for certain drugs, but they're, again, we're a little different because we're a government employer. We have police, we have fire, we have, like I said, we have the CDL folks where we don't want those things to show up. But the same thing here. We have employees that are potentially going in people's homes, but we don't have criteria that says we will allow this and we won't allow this.
Oh, I agree with you, I understand.
Like it's just getting a vendor set up. We can.
It sounds like they run
Wait,
Crossman.
but we can also, not
This is
send
probably
somebody through that
triple
because
R.
even if we sign this, we don't have criteria to base it off of.
The only thing I'm concerned about is saving money. I mean, that's our big thing. If we can do it in-house and it doesn't cost us a thing, all except for the financial report, well, not everybody needs a financial report. Anybody who handles money. We do drug testing where I work all the time, every 3 months, random. Truck pulls out front, they draw the lucky number, you go out and take care of it. That's just part of life at our work. But I mean, I just hate to see that us pay someone to do something that our chief or our police department can do except for the credit check.
Is it just for police hires only that you have to, you could do it for other departments?
We can to a certain degree, like
We can give a yay or nay. If there's a red flag there, we can say we wouldn't recommend it. We can't displace what it is.
anything that's non-public
That's
knowledge
not
already.
knowledge.
We don't, though, it would be more of a local background check. It would flag if it's a sexual offender, it would flag if they have a warrant or that, anything like that. But, we're not gonna go contact California for a background check. I don't know what this company does or what their background covers, but that would be the only thing that they may do in that cost that could be beneficial if somebody's coming from another state.
And
That's kind of where we were going with,
And then they
or
can
I think
always check
David
my
was.
case, you guys,
Right.
my case
But-
will show,
My case will only show Indiana,
right.
type things.
Right, and I understand
luckily,
that.
We're kind of in the middle of the state, but it doesn't mean that, let's just say somebody moved here, and so they reside in this Johnson County, they're not near Ohio or Illinois or any of the border counties or states. But say they've only been here for 2 years, but they've been convicted of something in a different state. So that's where we're having, this is a federal search, so it would be more at a national level, and that's where we have.
It's more depth.
Correct, it's more in depth. But my point is that that's only good for that point. Once they're here for 3 months, it could all change. They go back to California, get in trouble, we don't know. So, I mean, to spend.
It's $30, and we've only hired a handful of people in the last year.
Oh, I'm not complaining. I'm just sticker shocked over the money thrown around.
Hey, so, that's over 10% less than what I pay.
Correct.
Okay?
Right.
To give you a perspective.
Yeah.
This is more affordable than what I do.
I mean, we're talking about a couple $100 a year.
Oh, I agree. I just was curious.
And I mean, police databases have what's called criminal justice information in them, and the police can't, even though some of it would be public record, if you have access to those databases, you cannot release it, and if you do release it, you don't get access to those databases anymore. This is a data aggregation company. They basically troll the same data and just compile it privately, and so you're able to run very similar to like a III or an NCIC that the police would, but you can do it and use it legally, whereas the police cannot.
Police officer.
We
Cannot.
actually can't run a triple.
Okay.
Anymore unless we've got a case, reason to.
Yeah, you can't even run a III unless you get authorization through communications.
And this is something that only our HR department will see, correct?
But I mean, I can get clarification on who would see this, but we would set who that would be.
I would say whoever the hiring authority is would get.
Which would be HR.
Well, no, I mean, like, whoever makes the decision that, who takes this position would get to see it.
Okay, because
Like the department head.
right, normally the department heads with HR, but HR takes care of all the private matters of background checks and stuff like that. That's what, I was just kind of protecting everybody's.
And I think, once we set criteria, if we say felony, whatever class it is, or no felony.
We're not looking at it.
Set, or the type of, conviction, that type of thing, that's where maybe I can ask this company if they say, give us a yay or nay, if they do not, or if they do hit one of those items, and they give that timeline of what does that look like? Because somebody was convicted of a felony 20 years ago, are we gonna hold that against them?
Everybody's got a right to change.
It just, that's kind of where we haven't ever set criteria. And I mean, we have part-time firefighters, we have reserve officers, we have full-time police and, town employees and.
City workers and all that.
And so that's where, we just need to be more mindful of.
And I'm fine with it. I just had some questions is all it was.
I'll make a motion to authorize Carmen to enter into agreement to have them provide background checks as the town requests.
Second.
I would
He's got
include subject
something.
to attorney review and.
Yes, subject to attorney review and approval of the contract.
Roll call
Second.
vote, please.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Brad Dicker,
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson,
What was the motion?
To allow the town manager to engage with this background check service, subject to the attorney's review.
Okay. Yes.
Joe Saylor,
Yes.
Richard Hill,
Yes.
passed 5-0.
Hey, Carmen, just out of curiosity, would you go back with all the employees and do this, or is it going forward?
No, you can't.
You can't
Go back.
can't go back?
Unless, I mean, again, if we go back to random drug screens, we can set.
So this be something for new hires going forward once implemented?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody here, if it's bad, they here. They just stay in.
I just didn't know if you. Okay.
Slim, you got by with it.
Tax abatement statement compliance.
15 years, I wrote it down.
There you go.
Tax abatement?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yep. We have 2 this month, and we'll have several more next month. The 2 that we have this month are the Wrigley Real Estate Holdings. They're in their second year of abatement, as I recall. And then we have D&H Distributing, and that is a personal, all right, is that a personal property abatement? Yeah. And they're actually ahead of their schedule. They didn't technically need to file this year, but they did anyway, just to make sure that they didn't have any problems. In both cases, I've reviewed the information, and they are there, set out in that schedule. We have now, the assessed value for the Wrigley property is $2.455 million. They had projected, a little over $2 million as their assessed value. So they've exceeded that, and their estimated number of employees was 94. They're at actual number of employees of 89. Their estimated average salary was $114,000. Their actual average salary is $110,000. So, and then, like I said, there's a lot of to be determined on the D&H.
On that.
He was president when the abatement.
Okay.
So at tonight's meeting, the council should take action on each statement of compliance by approving a motion finding the taxpayer is or is not in substantial compliance for the 2025 paid 2026 tax year. Or the council may call a special council meeting and request a taxpayer to present additional information concerning its compliance. Actually, I don't think that would have to be a special council meeting. Probably the June would be fine, but I doubt
Does anyone have any questions or concerns about this? I reviewed them earlier. I did not see any red flags.
I was gonna say, I'll have to rely on you for that one, because I tried to follow it through.
I'll move to approve both SB ones as being in substantial compliance for Wrigley as well as is it D&H?
D&H Distributing. Second.
Second.
Joe and Brian, vote please.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Brad Godecker.
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson,
Yes.
Joe Saylor,
Yes.
Richard Hill,
Yes.
passed 5-0.
EG 71 repairs.
I'll take a stab at this one, and then if you have specifics, you're gonna have to talk to Eric and Slim when it comes to actual repairs. So engine 71, this is what we briefly spoke about prior to. You all had approved us to spend up to $40,000 on the repairs for engine 71. Some additional things hit from Cummins came in. Leaf springs needed to be replaced. Of which with parts and labor, it was another $8,012.92, which took us over the 40. So we're now at $42,992.89. So I need approval to proceed, or I would like to request approval. I would like to request approval to have the leaf springs repaired on engine 71, and if y'all want to set a not to exceed again, Eric and I have talked to if you could set it at 50,000, and as the bonding matter goes forward, this would be something that would then be reimbursed from the bond back into the CAPQ fund.
Are they just going through from top to bottom? And,
Yes.
and
Yeah, and looking to see what they find as they're going through it, absolutely, yes.
so
Once they're- So, yeah, if they find anything, they let us know. And
do you
it's-
anticipate other issues at all?
I hope not. Yeah, I mean, obviously, we're getting the motor replaced, you know what I mean, the head gasket right now, so they found the leaf springs, so, I'm glad that they're finding these issues while they're in there, because I'd rather get them fixed while it's there.
And this is
Go out
one of
and
the
service
trucks what's not been maintained. As per what he
So you're
said.
asking not to exceed 50,000?
That's,
Sounds reasonable to me.
Do we have a motion to set the not to exceed?
I'll make the motion to
50,000.
pay that and not to exceed $50,000.
I'll second that.
Tim and Brad, can we have a roll call, please?
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Brad Godecker,
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson,
Yes.
Joe Saylor.
Yes.
Richard Hill,
Yes.
passed 5-0.
On ladder 71, I guess my question is more for Eric. Now that we've kind of postponed or paused, what is actually going to potentially go in the bond, what they will be allowed to move forward with. Will McQueen charge us a storage fee to keep this vehicle on site for the, okay,
Not that I know of, they have not said anything about it, so
okay.
we'll just tell them it'll just sit there for 30 days until we come back.
So it'll be out of service until
Correct.
next, okay,
Yep.
great. So that was, I just wanted to address that real quick. So.
Invigorate?
So we're getting a little lengthy on our meeting, so if we need to push this out another month, there's no rush for any decisions to be made on this.
Let's do that.
Yeah, so I'm good with it. Just as an update, we are, Melissa, Cindy and I have been working on some of those quick things that they had said that we could do internally as far as drafting acceptance or offer letters and
Yes.
things of that nature, so.
And I've got a folder here if anybody wants to look through it, if you're interested. The items that we are changing, they're just rough drafts, but you're more than welcome.
We come back tomorrow, look at it.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Conflict of interest forms?
Yes, we have several. And so you're gonna have to bear with me.
Yeah, there are several.
First, and we may wanna, well, I'll leave it up to you whether you wanna take them one by one. We can go through them and you can tell me when to stop and make a motion and so forth.
There was one of them that didn't appear to have any information in it, it just said family.
I have not looked through them, so I
Okay.
can't
Uh,
say one way or the other.
That one, I'd wanna address that one differently.
Whenever it comes up, if you have any issues, we'll set it aside and we'll address it separately or what have you.
There's a whole boatload.
Yeah, first, this is submitted by Edward R. Linhart. Title or position with governmental entity, lawn care. This is not marked as either a single transaction or an annual disclosure.
Annual.
It's an annual, okay? And the description of the contract is not applicable. Contractor is none. The description of my financial interest is I am employed by the town of Whiteland for lawn care service. My hourly rate is $18 per hour, approximately 32 hours per week. My wife Cynthia L. Linhart is an employee of the town of Whiteland as the HR representative and payroll clerk. So, that's the first one.
We pay someone to mow? Is that what this is, part-time? I thought, what's his name, was doing this at the wastewater plant for a while. Can't remember his name. Yeah.
Next is the counterpart to that, which is Cynthia L. Linhart. Position with the governmental entity is HR representative. It's not marked as to whether it's single or annual, but I assume it's annual as well. Name of the contractor is none. Description not applicable on the contract, and on the description of my financial interest, I am employed by the town of Whiteland as the HR representative and payroll clerk. My biweekly pay is approximately $800, and hourly is $25 an hour. My husband, Edward R. Linhart, is an employee of the town of Whiteland doing lawn care. Next, Drake Hendershot. He's with the fire department. It too is not marked on either annual or single. There's no vendor contract or description of contract. There's no description of my financial interest. I think that one needs some work. So,
Can I make a motion to approve the first two, the lawn care and the HR representative?
I'll second.
Okay.
Have a vote, please.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Brad Gooddecker,
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson,
Yes.
Joe Salas,
Yes.
Richard Hill,
Yes.
passed 5-0.
all right.
I suggest we table the next one until our next.
Next one is Scott Hendershot. No information included, although at the end it does say annual disclosure. I suspect that it's
just this one.
Does the same thing on the other one, but they need more work.
Yep, there it is.
And then next is Carl Nartzer. And he's a Whiteland Fire Department firefighter. Annual disclosure, his contract is with Summit Response Group LLC. Description is Vice President of Technology for Summit Response Group, a company that conducts training for public safety for a fee. Due to this, firefighters from Whiteland Fire Department may enroll in a course where a fee is incurred. These courses take place throughout the year, which is why the annual disclosure is checked. The description of his financial interest. Any fees from a course goes back into the company. I can also receive pay for the courses or services that I provide through my company. Cost amounts can vary based on the course or service that is needed. Next is Bailey Gregory, also with the Whiteland Fire Department. He is captain of training. Semi-annual, it looks to be an annual disclosure up to the end. Name of the contractor also is Summit Response Group LLC. I think, was it the same as prior?
Yeah.
I think there's 3 or 4 that
Yeah.
per Summit.
Kephardt's the same way.
Description of the contract or purchase. Vice President of Training with Summit Response Group, which conducts training for a fee. Due to this, if Whiteland Fire Department personnel wish to attend, there may be a fee. And the financial interest is any fees from the course will go back into the company. Depending on the course, I may receive payment. Costs and amount may vary based on course being taught. Make sure it was signed. Next is Jason Kephart, Fire Marshal with the Fire Department. It's an annual disclosure, also with Summit Response Group. Description, owner of Summit Response Group, which conducts training for public safety for a fee. Due to this, then firefighters from Whiteland Fire Department may wish to attend the course and a fee could be incurred. These courses can take place throughout the year, so this is why the annual disclosure is checked. Financial interest. Any fees for this course will go back into the business that I am an owner in. I can also receive pay for teaching the course as well. Costs and amounts can vary based on the course being taught. Next is Scott Raker, annual disclosure. He's also with the Whiteland Fire Department as a firefighter. Contract is not applicable. Description is family. Description of my financial interest is none. And that one may need a little more work.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask that one be set back.
Next is Eric Funkhauser, Whiteland Fire Department. He's the fire chief. It's an annual disclosure. Contractor is Whiteland Fire Department. Description is fire chief for the year 2025. Financial interest. I am the father of Dylan and Caleb Funkhauser, both firefighters for Whiteland Fire Department. Annual disclosure, and it's signed. Then we have Caleb Funkhauser, firefighter, Whiteland Fire Department. Annual disclosure. Contract is vendor is Whiteland Fire Department. Description is firefighter for the year 2025. Financial interest, I am the son of Chief Eric Funkhauser, the brother of Dylan Funkhauser. Next is Dylan Funkhauser, firefighter, Whiteland Fire Department. Annual disclosure. Contractor vendor is Whiteland Fire Department. Description, firefighter for the year 2025. Financial interest, I am the son of Chief Eric Funkhauser and the brother of Caleb Funkhauser. And last, Dale Gick, member of the Whiteland Parks Board. It's an annual disclosure. He works, contractor or vendor is Commonwealth Engineers. Description of the contract is Whiteland Development Reviews, contract for various projects for work to structures damaged by the tornado. And the financial interest is project manager for contracts that Commonwealth has with the town of Whiteland. So those are your disclosures.
So I will move to approve all except the first two that we set aside, and I think it was Mr. Raker who just listed family. I move to approve all the other ones.
Second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Yes.
Brad Goodbecker,
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson,
Yes.
Joe Taylor,
Yes.
Richard Hill,
Yes.
passed 5-0.
I promise I'll make this quick. I have one question. So as I talked last month about the planning for 2026, received a preliminary calendar from Stone Municipal. We'd like to kick off departments and notifying departments of their, getting their requests in at the end of this month. But one of the suggestions he made was to ask if council would like to be more involved in the beginning of this. Primarily, we've just come to you with introduction and we go from there. So like to see if there would be up to 2 council members, just so it's not a, quorum type situation. Would like to be involved in the budget process. That's it.
Let me think about it. Debbie's raising her hand, she'll do her.
Deb wants to do it, and this would be helping with meeting with the department heads too, and just kind of, better
I'd
understand.
be really interested.
I do not have the time available.
That's what I was just, when's it gonna be?
We'll have to figure that out. We could probably do virtual type.
See, I work till 3:30. I could take a half a day, but is it gonna be during the day? That's what I'm
I can
asking.
get with, I think it would be up to whatever the department heads, and then however it all works out with Adam as well.
Find out when it's gonna be, because, I can always take a day off or something, a half a day or a couple hours. I don't work very far from here.
Okay, and then.
Make sure you don't have more than 2 at a time.
Correct.
Okay, so Deb and Tim on that, and then real quick, the Whiteland Road, Sawmill Road roundabout, we were having issues with the county, got those resolved today, so all on board with all 3 entities, so.
All right,
good news
excellent.
there. So,
Well done.
Good job.
Where are you gonna cash that big check at?
Crossroads.
Yeah. Yeah, so we did receive a big $1.4228 million check last week. So, no routing numbers or account numbers on it, so unfortunately it's not cashable, but, looks pretty.
All right.
Mr. Slim, you have anything? No?
I'm good.
You sent that report, I appreciate that, so if you have questions, you can touch base with Slim. Mr. Ship, you have anything, sir? Mr. Funkhauser, you wanna circle back around at all?
Nope, I'm good.
No? Council comment?
I did have it. I'll save until next month.
Public comment? Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.